4, 3, 2, 1. Overtime.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Overtime Podcast, where we have 4 NAs talk about competitive Team Fortress 2. My name is Antlers. I'm joined here by Jay, Lacey, and Resin. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Resin
Sure.
first.
Hi, I'm Resin. I'm the lead developer of FIRESIDECAST, and I was the executive producer for FISCO and Fireside Denver 2025.
I'm Lacey. I did all the tournaments for FISCO and Fireside Denver 2025, and the project management from the back end.
I'm Sayo. I'm one of the founders alongside Antlers for Fireside. I did project management and I did some production work at FISCO and Fireside Denver 2025.
I'm glad to hear everybody. I'm also
Wow.
Antlers. I introduced myself at the beginning. My contribution was primarily project management. So, with that, we have a little bit of an itinerary, but the main thing that we wanted to talk about today, above all else, was running FISCO and Fireside and everything that came to be with that. All the struggles, in case anyone else, might be interested in doing something like that themselves or just want to hear the story, because there's a lot that happened. And we're excited to share the details. So with that, I want to actually introduce Jay to be the first topic bringer on for that.
Yeah, actually, and to go off your note, I think a lot of people are very excited about the prospect of the LAN, but don't understand the logistics that come into running a LAN and getting a LAN started from the ground up. So hopefully our first time experiences LAN organizers from the back end can help those who might have ambitions of running a LAN eventually. But for the first topic, I guess pretty much this should always start off with any kind of topic like this. It's like, how did the LAN came to be? So this is back in March 2024. So FISCO and Fireside Denver 2025 was something that actually happened on a whim. And I remember because me, Resin, Just Jazz, and somebody else was on the call. Do you remember who that was, Resin? We were looking over the unreleased Philly photos from that one resup LAN.
Oh yeah, I have to be the bearer of those photos, of course. I don't recall who that was. Was it Looster?
It may have been either Looster or Antlers that was on that call.
I
We were
remember
looking through
doing
all the
something like
unreleased
that,
photos.
but I don't know if that was the first time,
Right, that was in your introduction to it.
Exactly.
But it was we were all in that call, me, Resident, and whoever else alongside Just Jazz, and we were looking through the photos and we're photos are an important thing to LANs because it creates the memories of those that went to that LAN, and also it kind of gives people who didn't go to that LAN a bit of insight into what happens at a TF2 LAN from a visual perspective. So we were just here's all. It kind of cascaded into this discussion where it was all about what went wrong at that resup LAN and how could it have been done better. And then somehow someone, I don't know who it was, somebody said oh, we have the money, why don't we try running that LAN ourselves? We could run our own LAN. And at that time, when we were thinking about, oh, let's do the LAN ourselves, we didn't even put too much thought into it. I think the only things that came into that discussion were oh, we could actually do photos. Oh, we could actually do better than resup, in the sense that I think one of the main points that we brought up was that we thought that the schedule was very taxing on the players, because I think in the last LAN that G6 did win against FIRESIDECAST, Resin, I think one of the main complaints of the players was that it was a continuous overtime group stage and it was only a 2-day LAN event. So they felt from the player perspective, they had no chance for a break at all during that LAN.
Yeah, that was a common theme, I believe, among that. The schedule was printed out even, but it was quite congestive, but the big problem was continuous overtime.
Yeah, I think Grape Juice's team at that LAN, they had a 90-minute process game, and that caused the rest of caused one of the rounds of that group stage to be played out much later for one of those teams that they were supposed to go up against Grape Juice, but they had to wait for that 90-minute process game. So
that is true, yeah. Because I remember having to go on the server manually to get the demo for Grape Juice, because demos to TF wouldn't upload it automatically. I do remember that.
But this isn't meant to be like in a way where it's like we're trying to smack talk reset. We were just saying like in that call we just said like on a whim, yo, we could do this better, and then it eventually somehow ended up saying like let's run our own LAN, and then immediately after we made that FizzGun Fireside Denver channel, the staff channel, and then it kind of worked out in the end because at the time it was just me, Resin, Antlers that were on Fireside at the time, but then we eventually brought on Lacey. I think that was either shortly before or like right after we made that channel, and that became a huge help because Lacey was the head of tournament operations and also was the leader of the tournament admins and created her own team for that with Charlie and Plinko. So all in all,
Yeah.
like kind of things lined up together at the right time and at the right moment. So
What was that channel named? The channel was named Fireside LAN or Private LAN, something like that.
It was,
I remember we used to call
Fireside
it.
LAN.
Yeah. The role, if anyone was paying attention, the role in the server was Project A. That was the LAN, by the way.
Yeah, because I remember that time we also like were pretty generally expansionist. That's also about the time we started doing a lot of Valorant and a lot of generally different games. We were trying a bunch of different stuff, and so it was interesting to see that we ended up actually doing one thing. So I don't think we actually ended up doing anything else like that of super consistent value, you know?
Yeah, there were like thoughts of deadlock that never came to fruition.
Oh man, that deadlock would have been so sick,
man.
though.
Not that dog.
Oh.
Don't even. We were living off of
Hype.
whimsical words and dreams. We
Hype.
put on the Pyro Vision goggles and said, yeah, we can do deadlock. If you think about it, like, because actually, fun fact, to go up a bit off topic, I think there was actually a discussion with Arcadia, aka Kyle, about like running a deadlock league or something like that with RGL or some shit. But I
do
don't think
recall
that
this.
was ever gonna
RGL
amount to
restructure.
anything. Sorry?
Yeah, there was conversation about like paying RGL to use their backend, right? Is what
Yeah.
I remember.
Yes.
That was
Oh, yeah. Which was a little nonsensical because Citadel, the Warzone, We could
Well, I
I
mean,
feel like we could have done it
yeah.
ourselves.
there were definitely options for us to. It was gonna be cheaper for us to like have the pre-thing set up, which was also a
Oh,
selling
in
point.
terms of logistical? Yeah, no, I get that. Okay. That's why we did that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely two ways to look at that, right? Like it's either setup cost or it's logistical cost and time to set up. So
Mhm.
the way that I was looking at it, because I mean, Liam, not the one that has probably quit Team Fortress 2 as well by now, but my roommate Liam actually wanted to get on board specifically with that project, and he was the one who was working with Arcadia on getting that set up. So I don't think that part specifically worked out, but
No.
I
Somehow
mean,
we went
Deadlock
from
still hasn't like
branching
had
out.
a major scene a year later, so we definitely missed out on like the very beginning of a grassroots project, but it's not like there's teams going on, so we can't really fault ourselves too much for missing out on that.
If you think about it, we were just we could have been a trendsetter, but we wouldn't have been able to last a year because, like you said, there's still no official dev support for it. Everything's community run at this point. So
Yeah, if
Just
you
wait
ask
and
me, I
move on to
think we
next
spent
one.
our time better running LAN.
Yeah, running LAN. Let's get back on topic with that one actually. With that, I wanted to do a little bit of some thinking about the different stages of LAN. What was really important for us that we got right, because we're still talking about the planning stages. What was really important for us that we got right, and what we kind of realized we wouldn't be able to achieve right away on our first LAN entirely, right? Like we all haven't run a LAN before. We had some help, but we didn't really do anything before this, like complete management on our own.
Hmm.
you first, Resin.
Let's see. I'm not sure I understand.
Like, do you think there's things that we did right for first-time LAN runners?
For the first time, we did a lot of things
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, we
had,
did a great thing among things, but I was talking about like
Yeah,
priorities in terms
we-
of our planning.
Yeah, we
Oh.
really focused on trying to get the venue right because we looked through a lot of things. There were multiple places we looked at. Josh, you remember looking at the little like cafe hole in the walls, or like there was the other center. Oh, what was the center?
The Tap
go-
Esports Center. I think it's called Tap Esports Center or something like
I
that.
believe-
It's the one in
yeah.
Chicago.
Right. And I was still like toying around with the idea of other like we were avoiding East Coast LAN because I mean everyone else is doing that. We couldn't do that again. It didn't make sense. But also this is the point at which Nerd Street localhost was closing every other location that they had, so they really only had the one in Denver and then the block in Philly. We gravitated towards Denver, but I'm not so sure why, other than the fact that we had an existing quorum with Nerd Street and just local host as a venue.
I think it was the stage, wasn't it, Lacey?
Yeah, so the stage was a huge point for us. That was something we knew we wanted right off the bat, specifically designed for 6v6, right? Because, of course, at the block they had to set up the like little desk on the end.
Mhm.
What I remember from this point is sending out mass messages. I think I reached out to like 8 different LANfest venues because originally we didn't want to necessarily create our own event. Is what I recall. Because
Yes, we had reached out to like RGB's organizers at one point. No.
yeah, we reached out to RGB. I had just joined the LANfest team over on the West Coast, and we were trying to see if we could attach ourselves to something to avoid the logistics of doing all of the ticketing, all of the venue rental, and everything else. I think right around when I got in contact with LANfest Colorado is when Josh, I'm not sure if it was you or Thomas, had been kind of ghosted by localhost Denver. And that's when the LANfest president over at Denver put us in contact and said, "Oh, have you like a direct line." And then I think the four of us got in a group chat with whoever it was before Sticks. I don't even remember.
It was Sticks. It was Sticks.
Yeah,
and-
it was Sticks. It was Sticks because then Josh came later, right?
Yes.
And that's
Maybe
kinda,
we should
I
explain
feel like,
that-
how we
that-
settled on that.
We should explain that what's his title? Josh's title at localhost manager. Venue manager. Yeah, there is another Josh that will be mentioned.
Yeah, the
Yes,
second
we have
Josh.
Nerd Street Josh and our Josh.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
clarification, J/IO, aka me. My real name is Josh. So
Faster.
we should just refer to him as Faster then. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I mean, just to tackle onto Lacey's point, I think one of the I don't know, most of the North American scene would have known, but there was one person in the scene like a while back that touted with the prospect of a Texas LAN, and it got everybody really hyped. But obviously, they didn't pull through with their promise. I think one of the things that many people don't realize when they come into planning an event in TF2 is that we don't have the same power or the same budget power as we do with other organizers. Like in CS, you have Nerd Street, for example, that hosts the Philadelphia or the Fraglands or whatever they're called.
Yeah,
Like-
Philadelphia is right.
We don't have the ability or the budget to, rent a venue only, and then we also have to account for the fact that we have to rent 100 plus PCs, not only for players. So think of like 16 times 6, that's 96. So you need 96 PCs just for 16 teams of 6 players each, and then you need to have PCs for production and for tournament operations. So it's kind of just like, once you have to realize that you can't just rent PCs yourself, you need to have a venue that already has the amount of PCs needed for a TF2 LAN. That narrows down your options very limitedly. So that's why I think at the time, like Lacey said, there was the East Coast Philadelphia local host venue, and then there was the Denver local host venue. And up until that point, those were the only 2 viable options for a US location for a LAN. Which sucks, but that's how it is.
Yeah. I think the channel was created after we like almost decided on going with Denver. I think that's how that worked out.
Right.
I would
So-
say, if anything, I don't hate to interrupt right there. I know we started. At
No,
the
you're
same
good. You're
time.
good.
Yeah, the main issues with organizing a Team Fortress 2 LAN is really money. Obviously, everything in this world is financial, but we spent so much time fundraising, and a lot of it started as well because we had some extra capital from our normal streams as well, along with realizing we'd have to raise a lot of money to even make this somewhat like of a feasible thing. And I mean, spoiler alert, we ended up breaking pretty much exactly even by the end of everything, which I think is a huge win. There's no
Yeah.
real way for us to have made a lot of money.
Yeah, I think
Well-
there was like the hope of projected revenue. There was the hope of just making something from it because we had made money before. We were making money then just by streaming, but we were putting a lot more into it.
Yeah, at that
You know,
point
it's
we had
actually
like
funny
4
that we talk
different
about money.
broadcasters
Finish your point.
and no, we had a lot more like momentum at the time. I think I'm finalizing that
Oh
thought.
yeah, we had more talent. There was there was a bit more interest in just getting things covered by people in our server. There was more availability. Is how I would put
Yeah.
it.
Because at the time we ran like we ran like 2 to 3 broadcasts a week consistently throughout the RGL season, and then we also self-inserted ourselves into different various game modes like Highlander, and then 4v4 pastime, and then eventually MG.TF. So I think that's actually one of the things that helped us with our fundraising efforts, because some of our fundraising, I think one of the things that actually came into play in terms of fundraising for the event, because originally when we first projected our fundraising for the event, we did it under the guise that it was going to be a 2-day LAN, and that we assumed that $3,300 was going to be enough for a starting budget. Spoiler alert, we ended up spending, I think, 4 times that at the end of the LAN. So
around- Yeah, I think the number was like the number was around 15, right?
I think like 12,500 to 15,000.
Yeah, I looked at it now. 13,897 and 83 cents is what you have down here. Firesidecast.tv/finances.
Good self plug. Hey, just so you know, we're one of the only orgs in TF2 that's transparent about our finances. We just haven't updated it since LAN ended. So
That's
My
okay
bad.
too.
My bad, team.
no, it's okay. That's not a knock on anybody, but knock on wood actually is that like when we self-inserted ourselves into all those into broadcasting for all those different game modes and all those different communities, we actually made a few connections that helped us with the fundraising efforts. And I think that's one of the things that when the original Fireside, when the announcement for FizzGun Fireside Denver 2025 was made, I think I made a statement saying like this land is the embodiment of for the community by the community, in which like it wasn't just Fireside that helped make the LAN happen, it was the community itself that contributed to the LAN happening, because they eventually helped give back by getting some of the teams to LAN and also contributing to the fundraiser. So
Yeah, there were like team fundraisers. We had our own like donations on top of like we were getting more merch off of the ground at the time. Specifically for the purposes of getting a better like venue up, essentially.
Yeah, having the donors, especially just from our connections, was a great help. The 2 mainstay sponsors and the title sponsor, FizzGun, that was just, I believe that's just open prize pool, right? It just went to open prize pool.
we
Yeah.
chose eventually, yeah.
Yeah,
Specific
exactly.
fun story about our sponsors. We actually didn't make most of our money from them. Like it
Yeah,
was,
Lazy
it was
can delve
mostly
into that
community.
more.
Yeah, so FizzGun, we actually, because I had worked with FizzGun too, because they were entering the space. Thanks, Shonik, for pointing them out to me. I helped them set up their backend for like automation, server automation. So when we got to the point of talking about sponsors, that's when I reached out to them, and we actually consulted a lot with the Essentials guys, because I don't think any of us here had ever made a pitch deck before.
Oh, I'm sorry,
so
what?
we were really trying to figure out,
Sponsor
all right, how
pitch deck.
best is it to present
Ah.
ourselves to these sponsors?
Yeah, the only pitch deck that I had ever worked on was for League.tf.
Oh.
So
That's
Think about
Deep cut.
deep cut.
Don't speak about that.
The video's still out
That's
there.
It's on our webpage.
We don't speak about it. We don't speak about it. That's like when you're in middle school and you have all those delusions that you write about in your diary. That's like one of those delusions. You keep that.
That's
You throw,
crazy.
you throw that into the fireplace and say, be gone, my foul past."
So then we put it on our website.
Well, I mean,
No, but Lazy,
I think it's
continue,
just still
though.
there because it's attached to the Bulldozer monologue. Fun
Oh,
fact: the
yeah, you're
Bulldozer
correct.
monologue
Yeah.
specifically about running your own TF2 events.
Okay. But yeah, Lacey, I kind of wanted you to finish your point there about the sponsor pitch deck and like fizz gun. If you'd care to
Yeah, so
continue.
we originally wanted to see if Essentials could make one for us, but then we found out that that would be a charged service through print stream. So I think Thomas, it was actually you and Josh, right, that made like a basis for it, and then we had Kirsty kind of look over it, give us some like some small pointers, and we spent like 3 weeks, I remember, deciding what our rates would be, because we weren't sure how much money we could get out of like companies when we asked them to sponsor us.
Yeah, it took a lot of time. Working with the sponsors was primarily Jay with manco.store,
Yeah.
and working with everybody with that. I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself because I want to maintain sponsor relationships. But
They were actually pretty helpful though.
oh, they were super helpful. Yeah, absolutely. I just think that if anything, we definitely put a lot of work in specifically getting everyone together on our own terms and having it as a community project.
I think that's also like one of the things that makes Fireside unique from different orgs is that like it's kind of like a free running. Like there's no specific hierarchy. I mean, there's obviously like the leads that can make the final decision, but people are kind of allowed to do their own thing with input from others, but generally kind of all ties back into like one certain goal. So it's
Yeah, our goal
unique
is
in
to
that
just create TF2 content and create TF2 experiences. That's what we've kind of been known for.
and ultimately the penultimate of that was the Denver LAN. So
Yeah.
Yeah. LAN is the ultimate and pinnacle of tournament play to me, and it just made so much sense that I wanted to do it again.
we should probably talk about the teams now, like how we talk. I mean, maybe I could segue this into the next topic, but you know, we're talking about all this like planning for the LAN, but how did we even get to the teams? And I think one of the things that people won't even realize is that this wasn't even supposed to be an intercontinental LAN. It's supposed to specifically only be a North American LAN. Actually,
Yeah, intercontinental LANs do not happen on a whim, and that was certainly not the plan or idea I had when formulating any of that. I was not there thinking that that was going to happen. It was just a wonderful thing.
And we love that too.
Yeah.
No, but specifically, I remember a lot of what we do on Fireside, and I am proud of this, is that we do a lot of pipe dreaming, where we we just like have like random, ideas on what could possibly be and what would be beneficial for either us or the community, however it plays out, and we just say, okay, how could that be done if we were able to do it? And we were able to get that kind of through because of the fact that we kept a lot of open minds about different ideas and different ways that we could get things done. So, for instance, we had a lot of trouble with like venues, with sponsors, and that's why working out and like reaching out to FizzGun, who I don't think, if Lacey hadn't reached out to them, they would have been in the position to host a LAN or to sponsor a LAN. Just in general, like it's just a lot. And especially
As an
from here.
entering into just TF2 in general, into the space.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what a way for them to enter, like by hosting what some people would consider to be the biggest event of Team Fortress 2 history. I don't want to, toot my own horn too much.
At the very least, the post-pandemic era. I wouldn't. Be,
Oh yeah, I
I
can
wouldn't
say
be talking
that.
that
That's
grand.
fine.
I wouldn't be talking that grand antlers, but
Okay,
talk your
okay,
talk, I
fine,
guess.
fine, fine. I'll put my hands up on that one.
Certainly one of the biggest, right? Just because of the presence of all three regions, though. Because that's only happened at 3 events before this, so 4 events maybe.
two I series and one rewind.
3
Has it
ICs,
happened in-
Three I series, one rewind.
Yeah, so
49
Rewind was the only other
European
time it
days.
happened in North America, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that was Rewind too.
Well, Rewind 2, we only had the Europeans come over, right? The Australians
Oh,
couldn't
yes.
make it.
Right.
But talking about the Europeans, right? It was kind of a miracle for us, really, that the Witness EU, they wanted to come to America, right? That was the goal of their team, was to come out here, especially after the loss at I Series to Froyo. And they originally were going to go to the block in 23.
Yeah, 2023. Yeah.
Oh, I remember
They
this.
ended up scheduling the block where it was not possible for any of EU to come, and I think that's really what started that conversation for us with them. Josh, you were more the main point on that, but once we got the Europeans on board, that's what kind of enticed the Australians, as I understand, at least.
Yeah, you're right. Because it was funny because, like I said, somehow things just happened to align for us. Because we originally started planning for Denver in late March and April, and then there was that tell-all post from Poppy on TFTV where it was like a TFTV post about like Insomnia or Player One events like declaring bankruptcy and shutting down, and then there was somebody who lamented about EU not coming to LAN, and then it's like, or not coming to NA, and I think Poppy made a post about it, and just on a whim, I think I talked to you about, oh, why don't we try to get EU to the LAN, and then I think you agreed, and then I reached out to Poppy like 3 to 4 days later after that post. I actually have the chat log in our little topics channel of me like starting the conversation with Poppy, and it was pretty much him immediately saying, "Yeah, we'll do it, but we're not sure about if we're going to be existing in a year or not." But that dialogue had already started with the Europeans. So, just in short, we thought about doing a North American LAN. Then the post from Poppy comes out, and then it's like, oh, let's make the Europeans come over to North America, and it just all fell into place. And that actually cascaded because we originally planned for Denver to be a 2-day LAN, and then Poppy suggested, oh, now that we're coming, why don't you consider making it a 3-day event, because the hallmark of an intercontinental event should be having as many competitive matches as possible. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's funny because at the time, I was like, do we even have the money for that? But I didn't understand how local hosts' like revenue sharing model, like how they're like how like paying for the venue worked out, because they have a unique way to pay to rent the venue. And I was like, dude, we don't have the money for this. But it's like, once I understood it, I was like, yeah, we could do a 3-day LAN. And then after that, it was just a matter of getting the Australians. And I have a funny story about the Australians. So when we first announced Denver, I messaged Lau on Steam. So I first talked to Lau on Steam, and he's like, hey, do you guys think you guys would ever want to come to a LAN? And then he said, no, we're not going to a LAN in North America. But then after I talked to the Europeans, Poppy's like, oh yeah, why don't you get Australia to the LAN? Like, why don't? And I'm like, no, I tried already. And he's like, well, maybe Witness could talk to them because he sponsored them. And I'm like, okay, I'll reach out to Witness. So I reached out to Witness, and he's like, yeah, I'll tout the idea to the Australians, and then eventually they get on board because then Cookie reaches out to me, and he's like, yeah, we want to come to LAN. Australia wants to come to LAN. So then suddenly it became a European versus North America dialogue into a 3-region competition dialogue, which makes the LAN all the more memorable per se.
I remember at that point as well, we wanted to try and announce with a full, like a full 8 invite teams, the same way Rewind had before. And I think we got up to like 6, and then I remember Froyo, right, wouldn't confirm. They didn't want to be announced. They were confirmed, but didn't want to be announced. And I think that was the same for the High Five team as well. So we were like frantically trying to figure out how many teams can we get to announce, and that's how we ended up with the Dot Hogs, who ended up pulling out ultimately when their team died.
Oh,
Right.
That was a big thing. Also, yeah,
Yikes.
because the graphics we were trying to make for that.
We wanted to include as many teams as possible on the announcement graphic that what was it, Requiem did for
Requiem
us.
HD. Yes, they made that.
And I think we now have like 3 versions of that graphic because of different team changes.
That's true. It took a lot of effort.
What happened there? Okay, so I remember first we talked to G6, then we talked to WGEU, then we talked to Witness Gaming Australia. And by the time those 3 had been talked to, it was already being discussed in the invite Discord channels. So then I had proposed the idea to Banny, but like you said, he said that he didn't want his team confirmed yet or something along those lines. And then there was supposed to originally be Witness Gaming NA. So that lineup was supposed to be, let me see, I have the chat logs with High Five here. He said the tentative roster is me, Ash, Slemnish, Jay, Artist, and Lol Guy. That's a crazy roster on paper, no?
I'm all
It's
down for
definitely a
it.
very
Yeah,
tentative
Lul's
roster
team,
on
though,
paper.
right?
That was a tentative initial roster that he had proposed when he heard about the LAN. Because I had reached out to him too. So that was the original roster, and then I guess somewhere along the lines between the off seasons of the RGL season prior to that LAN, I guess G6 had convinced Lol Guy to come back, so then he had to scramble for a new medic, which ended up being Zilly. And then Ash didn't want to go, so then they had to get Dingo on Roamer. Because Dingo was originally supposed to go to that LAN with Greasy Dot Hogs, because you know Sin Karma, like he had gone to that one LAN, but I guess his family wouldn't let him go to another LAN. And then he just coincidentally ended up on High Five's roster after Greasy Dot Hogs died as Roamer. But I don't know the timeline of events regarding that.
I remember because it was really tentative when we announced. 'Cause we announced the LAN at the end of December, right? We wanted to announce it earlier, didn't happen. We announced late December, and I remember G6 and Dot Hogs both. They were good with being announced, but neither of them would let us announce a roster for them because G6 wasn't sure with I think they're with the Lol Guy and with Kobe, and then Dot Hogs were in major flux, which we of course saw come to fruition in the RGL season when they died after I think week 3.
Yeah.
So I'd say overall timeline as well. I mean, we touched on it like through various anecdotal, stories by now, but it took us a year and a half to get this LAN off of the ground. I'd say about.
Yeah, we started in like April of 2024.
If we started in April of 2024, that means it took us exactly 1 year. And I'd say the buildup of that year. How'd you guys feel on the flight after everything went down? After all that planning had taken.
Well, actually, before we even talk about that,
Ooh, true.
if you think about it, we planned for the LAN a year in advance, and that actually worked to our favor because I remember Lacey Resin. We were waiting for the freaking contract for forever, and then we would ask Styx, and then eventually, well, Styx was still the one point of contact for the contract originally, and then it eventually became Josh, aka Faster, and and then the players were starting to get antsy, and they were like, "Where's the contract?" And they would keep saying like, and then local hosts would keep saying, "Oh, well, our lawyers are working on it. Our lawyers are working on it."
They
And
love
that
that
was like
one.
a back and
They
forth for at least
really
4 to
love
5
that one.
months. That was the worst part of like, because we didn't know when we could tell the players, yeah, we can announce this. Because remember, we had a timeline. We had a timeline of when we wanted to announce it, and we were late by 4 months, 3 to 4 months because of the contract delay. Like, bro, where's our LAN contract? You told me it was gonna come at this time. Why is it coming 4 months later?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely like a really, really scary thing. We didn't know if it was still gonna like pop off the way we wanted it to at that point, and everything. A lot going on. I will say the one thing that I didn't expect to happen, and that the 1 year of planning did kind of screw us over on, was the political developments at the time, as well, because a lot of America elected a president in who didn't look favorably on foreigners coming in. and that we didn't know exactly for sure how that would play out for our, multiple international LAN at that point. Made it a little bit scary to figure that out.
Yeah, the
You know what was
contract. The contract came in November 20th, 2024. The first contract.
So
we haven't even.
we were planning
We haven't
out
mentioned the
September.
updated contract.
Dude, like, I remember I was asking Lacey, like, are you worried about this shit? And then she's like, oh, Josh, I'm worried. Because we thought we had planned so well ahead of time that, we were going to announce in September. And it's like, shit, our contract's still not here.
I remember too, we had already secured the contract with Marriott at that point. So Witness was like finger on the trigger to book hotels. And it was all just pending on that, on the local host contract. And I mean, like Resin said, we ended up actually having to, 1 month before the event, have a new contract signed. Which
Yeah, it
a
was really
whole
scary
other
to sign the hotel contract before we knew that there was a LAN happening. Like we knew it was
Right,
happening, but
because
like,
we were going to get held liable if we didn't sell some of those rooms, I think, at one point.
Mm-hmm.
No, we signed a partial contract, never mind, with the hotel.
Yeah, I think the original contract was going to have us with a lot more liability, I think.
And you know what was, oh, dude, there was a funny story regarding the hotel. So I remember late, like, how we got like, so we got the discounted rate because Nurse Street or localhost had, that venue had previously worked with Marriott. So they had like a way to get discounts or group block discounts. And then I like got on my knees and like begged to the hotel manager that Marriott to get us like some staff discounts. And Lacey was like, don't ask for more. And I'm like, wow, we can give a shot. Beggars can't be choosers, can't they? But somehow it did work out and we were able to get like staff discounts for like some rooms. And if you look at our budget, we covered like 3 rooms for like, and we were able to get like 11 staff in like those 3 rooms alone. So, I consider that a W. 10 or, yeah, we got 10 or 11 people in there.
yeah, one thing
think
I did
more
learn
than
about Jay
is
through
that
all of
the-
this was that he's just like the master of like begging people for budget like allowances. So
Jo-
there was just so
Yeah.
many discounts
Josh-
that we got because he just kept asking for he just kept going and like no one actually told him no. So that's a lesson. You can just ask for things and sometimes you get them.
Or just wait for Josh to find the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently.
Okay, so actually,
Godsend.
like on the topic of money, okay, so I think this is like a touchy topic that might not be discussed, but originally, so on localhost's contract, and I think this has become a topic with regarding some controversial figures within the community. It's like dependent on the size, like the amount of people attending that LAN event, you had to like purchase security insurance or some shit for the
Oh
event.
yeah, and that was
Yes, 100
expensive.
people.
We didn't end up paying for that, did we?
No,
I don't
No,
think
we
we did.
didn't.
we didn't
So that was
even.
originally. Sorry, Thomas.
No, I'm saying like we didn't even we didn't even like talk to them about it past the point of like, hey, do we actually need this? And they were like, yeah, probably. And then we kind of ignored it on the lokes. Don't when you're following our TF2 LAN creation advice, don't follow that part specifically. I'd say because that was definitely like a
not even what
sketchier
happened,
thing.
though. 'Cause we did ask them about it. It was after Josh or Faster took over from Sticks. I remember we followed up on it, and it was a old like policy from COVID actually left over, where they had like tighter venue capacities, and I remember Sarah, who was venue. I like
Just
Nerd
say
Street
assistant
corporate.
manager or some shit.
Yeah, Nerd Street corporate. I don't know. She was basically like, "Do you think that you need security?" And I'm like, not really. I don't think so. Like, I think we'll be fine." And she's like, "Okay, then you're good."
I genuinely, I mean, not to name names, but I had genuinely thought we might have needed it because so at past LAN events, people have been banned for threatening to induce physical harm upon somebody at the venue. So I thought it may have been needed. luckily things did work out in our favor and nobody did go to the LAN, but that's probably not a chance worth taking again. Question mark.
It really depends.
Yeah.
Previous lands that you might be thinking of that had it, as far as I know, the number was 100 people. And this was more during COVID, so this policy was still in effect. It was always more closer to COVID. I believe the number was 100 people, and you would be asked to have security. At least that was how it was at the block.
But, you know, not having to pay for security, if we had to pay for it, we would have gone in the red. But thankfully,
Yeah.
you know, the gods have graced us. We did not have to spend more money. I think that the whole importance of this event from a staff perspective was to make sure staff didn't have to pay anything out of pocket, or at least try to mitigate that burden as much as possible. And we, for the most part, accomplished that. So.
Yeah, having the right people for the event to run the event was important. But if we can't get them there, then we don't put on a good event. Plain and simple.
What about deciding? You know, I don't even want to talk about like flying to the land until we talk about everything beforehand. I think the next topic that I want to talk about, and I think Lacey and Resin could take this on. Sorry, Antlers, to take your host role, but it's like, let's talk about that HUD for Denver, because we were working on a very, very tight timeline for that to get done. So, you know, the ball's in your court for you two to take the reins of this discussion regarding the HUD.
Yeah, so I think it was late 2024 is when we kind of there's a huge thread in private, I think, of the four of us talking about problems with our HUD, problems with our website, and similar issues that needed to be addressed, especially before LAN. And I remember, Josh, I think you tasked it out to me to like find a graphic designer for it, and I ended up reaching out to a estranged friend from when I was like 12, who went to UGA for graphic design. We like chased her down for like 2 weeks because she never looked at her emails, and then we ended up settling down on a contract. I don't remember if I even communicated this to Josh, you, or Thomas, but she hadn't done like an esports, like this kind of project before.
You did
my
mention that at
knowledge.
one point, at least. Like, and I think that actually kind of gave it like our aesthetics a little bit of an interesting flair, because it definitely was a lot more sports minded than esports minded, and I didn't mind that.
Yeah, and I remember, so we sat down with her, and I think Resident and I, we really, yeah, like you said, we really took the reins on it, and we told her, like, I think the deadline was 1st of May.
Correct. That's when
Because
1st of May was when we received everything.
I think that was our contracted deadline as well, because Resin, you had to code everything. Everything that she made had to be transferred from PNGs and SVGs into stuff that you can actually use with Flask, right?
Yeah. So essentially, we got a dump of rendered out PNGs, the source PSDs, some of them SVGs, and these are just the mock-ups, the layouts. I have to get these back into HTML and CSS, and then program the graphics, and use Flask in order to power it, which is a plugin that let me actually fill out all the information, like player names and health, into the actual fields they go in. They had to be more dynamic. And that, I mean, if you look at the timeline, I got that May 1st. At most, I had 3 weeks.
And actually, that's not even the whole story, because we didn't get it May 1st. That was our
We did.
contracted date, and we ended up getting it actually like May 6th was the date that we received all those files. And what I remember distinctly, Resin, going back to Thomas, you were talking about the flights. The day Resin landed, we went back to the hotel, and as soon as we got into our hotel room, Resin had to get on his laptop and start working on finishing the graphics, because they
Yeah,
weren't
I was
actually
working
done.
on. Yeah, I was working on graphics. Specifically, I remember. Oh, the roster pages, the flag icons that you saw on the rosters. I had to add those. I had to fix some other bugs, probably elsewhere. There were, if you look on the first day or two, there was no assist on the kill feed. I physically added that, I believe, in the venue. I was programming that while at the venue.
Case in point,
That's
though,
the
yeah,
one
it
part
was
of planning we sucked at.
yeah, it was a very tight timeline, and definitely, that's something that we needed to get started in like autumn of 2024, and that just didn't happen.
We needed to make the decision about like using a different HUD like way before then. I think it was only because you brought it up that we eventually got the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, the way I remember it too is that I had no intentions of changing the in-game HUD. Like, at least partially. The upper thirds can change along with the upper thirds of the overlay to match the bottom or the lower thirds and a few other things. But the player bars and other things and target ID, I had no intention to change that except update them slightly. And we ended up overhauling it entirely.
That's scary.
Well, didn't we have that old? I remember. Didn't we have? What was the? Yeah, I forgot what the reason was behind that. Actually, never mind. Why did we do that?
Because that's
I
just
think
what
it was.
it was just available to us, I think. I think that's just I think that's just happened to happen.
I don't think I knew you didn't want to overhaul everything, to be honest. But what I just distinctly remember is that my initial pitch, because I've got my email to our graphic designer here, was that the main focus was that everything on our overlay, everything on our graphic package needed to be unified, right?
Mhm.
And I think we kind of ran with that a bit too hard, ultimately. And that's probably part of that is probably why we ended up with a fully overhauled UI.
Yep. I think that sounds about right. I intended just to fix it up. And then it ended up with, I'm calculating now, about 10,000 lines of code.
Bless up.
Oops.
So it sounded like you were really stressed out on that plane ride. I say, segueing really well into our next topic.
Yeah. I was definitely up until, 1 or 2 a.m. that day, and then I think I was flying out in 5 a.m. or 6. I was flying out pretty early. I remember driving down to the airport, yeah. I remember that.
I'm
That
glad
was a
you
little.
remember that.
That was, yeah. It felt a little out of my control at that point. Like I couldn't do anything. Like I have just this travel to do, and there's nothing I can do right now in front of me about this. So, I had to roll with it.
Fair. All right. I was pretty stressed coming into it because I knew that at that point I was like just the treasurer essentially. Like that was my main role was like and head the guy who looks like he is the founder. That was my job.
You're like the guy who when they assign the group projects and then it's like, oh, I got an A+, and all I did was just put my name on the paper.
Okay, hold on.
Is that what you're putting yourself
That's not
down as?
That's
like when
fucking great.
It's like that. You remember that one tweet from Tyrese Halliburton after they won the U.S. basketball team won the Olympic gold medal, and he's like, he's just flaunting his gold medal, and he's like, hey, I did nothing, but at least I was here along for the ride.
I'm gonna say that's a little
No,
bit,
I don't know this.
a little bit harsh for me. I did some work. I did some serious lobbying, some serious effort in general. I will say I'm gonna defend myself a little bit here. The coordination of everyone else to make sure that timelines were met, that was primarily me. That's all I can say for myself.
No, you're 100% right. You definitely were the one who was keeping pressure on the three of us to really make sure that we were, as close as we could stick to the timelines that we had set out. Because we set out those timelines in April of 2024?
Yeah.
I think when we initially wrote the Miller note is when that happened.
Oh yeah, he did make that. He made the Milanote board.
The Milanote saved us. I'm gonna say it. I think the Milanote was baller.
Okay, the Miller note.
When you ain't do none on
The
the group project, you
Milanote.
can still get an A.
Can I
Ha.
admit something?
Yeah.
I didn't touch the Miller note after October 2024.
I'm well aware. There's no admitting happening on that one.
Thomas tried really hard, and I think a lot of people just kind of forgone the Miller note, and threads in Discord were a little more used, or just random conversations.
I mean, not even that. I think actually, in between timeline, I think there was a personal rift between I felt like there was a personal rift between all four of us because we were getting stressed under the work, and then we started becoming dismissive of each other actually. So there was a bit of a working relationship rift. But I think that's just kind of the thing that comes along when you play in a LAN. Because I remember I would keep getting DMs from one or two of you people, and we were just talking about oh, why is X being dismissive? And it's like, relax, we're planning a LAN. Maybe I'm the only one that felt this way. And it's like, guys, you know, it's not supposed to be all sunshine and rainbows when we're working together. Of course, we're gonna have some kind of interpersonal rifts with each other. Like for example, Antlers and I, I'll say it straight up. I think Antlers DM'd me about Lacey, and then Lacey DM'd me about someone else. And I'm like, what the hell?
My bad, Queen.
And I think I DM'd Antlers about Lacey too, so don't worry.
Wait, no one hates me?
I definitely got. I think as we got to like the last like 3 months before LAN, is really when, because a lot of the like build up stuff is really Josh, you and Thomas, right? A lot of that was on YouTube and resin for the development. And then once it got to 3 months before LAN, 2 months before LAN, that's really when my perspective of the tournament side is when it really came to like started being more pressing. And I think that's when I started feeling the pressure and then putting that pressure onto the rest of you.
Well,
Yeah.
I think my DMs were like, oh, I think if I did mention resin, it's like, dude, why are we giving him this short ass timeline to work on the HUD? We're expecting to make a HUD in a month. So, like, I think like we argued with each other, but it's not like it ended up in stonewalling. It's just like, oh, we had a disagreement, and then we eventually got over it the next day. Some shit like that.
No, I think ultimately we were pretty good about being able to put stuff aside after. Like we would definitely had our blow-ups, especially once we got to LAN, and that's all. We'll get there, right?
Boots on the ground, we'll get there.
Well, actually,
But-
talking about like even getting to LAN, like people had trouble getting to LAN because they just didn't have money. Do you remember? Okay, I can't be too. So Eki is. What? How old is Eki? Like Eki was a minor still at
Eki's-
that point.
Yeah, Eki I think was like barely 18, like maybe a couple months 18 at that point.
So like when we were doing that whole like, I guess we could probably go back even before LAN. So I think this episode is gonna go for another hour. By the way, like we still have way more to talk about, but it's like when we're talking about like getting people to LAN or like, we had that sign up sheet for like people who wanted to participate at the LAN from a staff perspective. Eki had signed
Right.
up as a commentator, but one of the things about Eki was that Eki does not have a job because still a minor and I think Eki was still looking for work at the time. So we had to find a way to get Eki to LAN. And I think Eki talked to their family. I don't know who they ended up convincing, but they kind of convinced him like, I don't know how you can go to your family and say like, hey, I commentate video games for a living, and now they're flying me out to LAN, and I'm gonna meet strangers that are like adult age. Who knows if they might do stranger danger stuff to me? But I'm getting
Okay,
paid to
I
go
feel
to
like
this
that's a
LAN.
little bit far.
And I was prepared to talk to I was prepared to talk to their grandpa. I was prepared to talk to Eki's grandpa to convince them to come to LAN.
I respect
But-
that.
I think we had to help pay for the flight, and then we also covered the hotel room. And then Plinko also had issues getting to LAN because I think Plinko's car broke down prior to
That's
the LAN,
right.
and then it became
Yep.
like a immediate uncertainty. And then I'm like, shit, we'll cover your hotel room. Come to LAN.
Yeah.
So,
And then I don't know if you remember Thomas, my flight. Do you remember what happened
Oh,
with
yeah.
mine? Yeah, I needed the
happened?
money from Thomas to book my flight. I got my flight, and then there was like cricket noises surrounding me, and then the money's here. It's like, oh great, oh wait, the flight's gone. Okay, so now I need a little more money to get a different flight. Ooh.
But we figured it out. It's
Yeah, we figured
partially
it
also
out.
because we were waiting on merch payment.
This is true. Yeah, no, that is actually true.
Like I'm not scamming people. I need to once more cover my ass a little bit.
I'm not saying you're scamming anyone. I'm just saying I lost my flight.
let's just say,
While
dude,
getting
I
scammed.
was hounding Antlers. So this motherfucker,
Whoa.
I was hounding on his ass about the car rentals. And you know what this guy did? He's like, oh wait, you know what? It could be cheaper if I could get my car rental if I had a Costco membership. So this guy uses the fireside funds
Okay. Okay.
to get a Costco membership,
I remember
which would then allow
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly
yeah, he
the
does.
membership.
which would
did do
allow
that.
him to get a cheaper car rental.
But
So,
you know what's crazy? It was still cheaper to get myself a Costco membership and then a car rental than just a car rental anywhere else.
God, I love it. Oh, I love it.
Because I already had a Costco rent. I had a Costco membership already, so I was able to get my rental pretty easily.
The problem
Fun
was that
fact,
we needed
you're supposed to be a certain age.
we needed to be a certain age, and then we needed to be an executive member.
But
so
they
you couldn't
didn't. They
even-
didn't check my age. They didn't check my age, so I was good. They didn't check for my Costco membership, so I was good. I like kind of.
How do you do these things? How do you get away with this?
Yeah, that's a
think I changed
question
some way.
for time. We have no idea.
Josh does things, they work, and that's it.
And then Antlers like had the great bad idea. Hey, I'm gonna spend $60 on Costco membership. Hey, we actually ended up saving $300 on this car rental because we 'cause I got
We had a
Costco membership.
And bless up for that.
All right, that's enough. That's enough Thomas topic.
Okay, one more topic before we actually talk about Final LAN is deciding the broadcast talent and the staff for the event. Does anyone want to talk a bit about that, or like talk about how we ended up going with Essentials as the B stream?
Well, I think Essentials as B stream talent. That's y'all. But I know Essentials as the B stream was kind of just an obvious pick for me. I think I really pushed for that because they have been helping us so much in the last year with the build up to LAN. Just because Essentials, of course, they've done what, a dozen LANs at this point. So I know at least I was consulting Dr. Happiness all the time. I think Resin was talking to Archer them a lot too.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying to get input about all the various things that were happening. Of course, Happiness was a little different because we also brought him on to our staff, but even so.
Yeah, and there were meant to be I mean there was meant to be others at LAN that never came to fruition, and they were still greatly helpful in just advisory roles. That's fine. There is no doubt in my mind that Essentials TF would be great for this choice.
They helped us with they let us use their Twitch channel for the Fireside Cup too. So I think
Mhm.
I mean the only other option at the time was Capping TV and Mitch, which I was very indifferent about, but obviously others here hold strong opinions about that. So it was just more suited to go with the organization that we had actual experience working in the past with, probably.
It's not even just about in the past, it was just concurrently. Concurrently having their advisory meant that they understood what we needed in the moment.
That's true. Broadcast talent. I'll go on. Finish your point
Duos.
first. Oh yeah, duos. I mean, I think the picks. Some picks were very obvious, like TC Mono, Marmalou.
Mhm.
I think the one thing that we actually did good was like staying loyal to the talent that casted with us throughout the 2 years prior to LAN, and that came in Delta Market. Who else? Wild Rumpus and Eki Moses, and I think those three were the ones that had casted for us the longest, and they had volunteered to cast at the LAN, and we were kind of under the guise that, these guys have proven themselves, they stayed loyal to us, and we're gonna go with them. And they turned out to be really good picks, all three of them. Really good. All three of them turned out to be good commentators at the LAN. So
Yeah. And like, let's see here. Let's see.
Booster was a surprising pick because he volunteered. He came out of a 6-year inactivity period to help observe and produce and work the backstage during the LAN too.
Do you remember one of the casters that was meant to be there? Do you remember number one Rocker? We had thought might be a duo or might be there to cast. Do you remember that?
Yes, and I know why he also left. I know. He was a very good caster in his time. Like, he was very good when he casted with us. What was the reason that he left? I mean, is it really good? I don't think I can say it.
He also kind of
actually,
quit
so.
Tier 2 in general, because I remember at the time he was also subbing for my Sixes team. And he was just kind of over it all. So that's kind of where he stopped.
I had no idea how that happened. I was just under the assumption that it just didn't come to fruition.
Well, no, it wasn't that. So you remember when Lacey kind of became a lead, and then Lacey kind of
Kinda.
well, no, Lacey enforced it. I just know it happened around the time that Lacey enforced the SOP. SOP, right? That's the term. So
Yeah.
Yeah. To be clear, I wrote that, so I know I'm well aware of it.
Well, there were supposed to be two other talents. They're supposed to come, Wandom and J-Max, and that's where that whole government situation came into play. Because I mean, Dr. Happiness had flown to NA, and he tried to reassure them that it was okay to just fly to LAN, but they were kind of scared out of the jeepers because like there was that around that time there was that news like the administration had locked up this Australian person trying to cross the Canadian border into the US or something like that, and then two German young adults, I think both women, were locked up trying to travel home from the US or something like that because they were in the US for vacation and they got locked up by immigration or some shit. I don't know why, but there was a lot of outrage and then fear because of that, and that kind of spooked them. That definitely spooked them out of coming to LAN. Not even Charlie could, Dr. Happiness could convince them to change their minds. So
Yeah. The one
Which
host
is
that,
understandable.
or the one piece of talent, the one individual who didn't actually attend, but wasn't because of that, was then our stage host, Jamond.
yeah, he had work. as far as I
Jamond was
understood.
busy. Jamond, we love and miss you.
Which kind of, well, should I say kind of? No, it would have taken it took the energy out of the stage hosting. Let's say that. Jamon carries this very primetime TV-esque energy with him. He kind of carries that aura, as the Zoomers would say it, to him.
He has an innate ability just to control the crowd and get the reactions he wants, get the hype where he wants it.
He's the hype man.
Oh yeah.
Well, how did we get Connie on to produce? Because she ended up being our main producer for the LAN.
So Connie came along because I noticed that without JMax especially, there was no way I was going to be able to do this on my own. I would be the one, and Looster would be the audio engineer, and there was no one else. Connie has done RGB many times for LANFest. There was no doubt in my mind that that was right. And what a great idea that was. What a wonderful choice that was. There was certainly no way that this LAN would have gone on without her help, because I was far too busy making the HUD sometimes, far too busy trying to get other graphics together and trying to get the cameras and the other resources we needed there, instead of working on, say, a vMix layout or OBS layout or figuring out the audio equipment itself. She was a major help on that.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add to that. That pretty much is in line with what I thought, too. So, anything else to add, Lacey and Antlers?
I will say it was really scary. Sometimes on the whole border thing, because we actually had some other people also from NA who just didn't want to have Europeans there. Not like because they like were scared of Europeans or something, but like they actually quit working on our land because they were worried about just like the overall scape of everything.
Crap, who was that? I remember who you're talking about, but I don't know.
I'm
remember
not
someone mentioned
naming
that.
names. I'm being specific
DM it to me.
on purpose.
DM it to me then. 'Cause
I
forget
would
the
never.
name.
I would never DM it to anybody. I would never say anything.
Oh yes, I quite remember this name.
Oh my, fuck you.
What a hello?
I know.
Is there anything in there? Knock knock.
There's a lot of I believe that they've had ties to the NRTF2 syndicate, one of which that we cannot name in fear of getting hit on by a potential drive-by. But
There's no drive-bys.
In Trade Market Plaza, maybe there is. Okay. Yeah.
Are we boots on the
We
ground
won't talk about
almost?
anything. We're almost there. I think we're flying now. I think we're flying now to LAN. Now we can get to LAN. I left. I think okay, so what happened here? So Looster took he drove with Witness from Indiana. Well,
Yep.
well, witness came from what? St. Louis or some shit? I don't freaking
Mhm.
remember.
They met up in St. Louis.
They met up in St. Louis. So Looser drove all the way from Indiana, carpooled with Witness with all of the production equipment. By the way, Clutch from Looser, he was able to use his connections with his job to get us a pretty sick mixer and some other equipment for
X32
the LAN,
Behringer Compact.
Yeah, it was like
which would have costed money.
the only way we could have afforded that tool was if we got it for free. And Lucer
Yeah,
was the reason we
even-
got it for free.
Yeah, even rental was difficult just because of the maneuverability of getting it to the venue.
So they carpooled all the way in. Looser had arrived way earlier than all of us. I think he arrived like the 18th or the 19th, and he spent his extra time in the hotel just filming standstill shots or
Yeah, that
B-roll.
B-roll.
Yeah,
To
B-roll.
be clear, he was not in his hotel. He was everywhere across Denver. He was everywhere and anywhere. I know for a fact there was at least 30 minutes of B-roll. because we accidentally put all of that B-roll into VMix, and
And that
that's
caused
not
all
what
the
you.
lag.
Yeah, not what I wanted to do. That was an accident. That's why some of the B-roll changed because we had some B-roll from the prior day, but some of the B-roll was just removed because, oh my god, I didn't mean to do that.
I don't know. Can we
God.
ever release that B-roll? Do you think?
We can.
It's
We might
his.
use it for the.
Chief recorded it. It's not ours.
Yeah.
He gave it to he allowed me to use it for a potential future video in the near future that I cannot reveal right now. So,
Oh, okay.
We'll ask
But,
Lucer
yeah,
if
he
we can
filmed all
do
that.
some revealing, and if we can, that'd be sick. We'll see if we can get that video out.
Hell yeah.
There's actually a lot of
Anyways.
different footage that we just have and haven't uploaded in any real way yet.
Well, actually, speaking of footage, we brought in terms of broadcast talent, we brought on DubThink to be our camera operator. What a huge addition that was to the crew. Well, wasn't even an expected addition. Just came out of nowhere and then proposed, "Hey, let's get a camera with a stabilizer to a film post round reactions or whatever."
Well,
Clutch,
she
no?
happened across a really good deal for a camera she wanted. And then she just bought it with her own money. And then it's just like, well, the stabilizer makes sense now.
Yeah, I remember buying that stabilizer was also an expensive part of our of our budget.
But it was
And yet-
worth it for the overall production.
Oh, yeah, it was the best camera we had on accident.
And I think also we have to give a quick shout out to our content crew behind the LAN, like prior to the LAN, because we had those team previews. We have to give a quick shout out to Wild Rumpus, Bluetooth, and Animation for their work with the team previews, and Catfish for writing the team preview script for Witness Gaming Australia. Those guys gave some hype heading into the LAN. It was kind of funny. I remember somebody sent me like a chat log of somebody like shit talking us for making a team preview video and saying that we stole the idea, but I don't think we stole the idea. I think that's just a common idea that everybody uses. No, so
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think,
know
I
where that
think it's
would've
very
come
silly
from.
to say you steal the idea of like hyping up the teams before your big event.
I was like, there's no way that could be a stolen idea. It's not unique to a esport. So okay, yeah. So anyways, back to the topic. Looster arrived like the 19th or 18th. Bethnix arrived sometime. He was the second person to arrive because he arrived with he was the second one to arrive to the hotel. I arrived at midnight, and I was supposed to have like this like 4-seater cube car. Like I don't know if you've ever heard about what a Kia Soul is. It's like a cube car with like 5 seats minimum. It's like a mini cargo van. But then they upgraded me to this huge ass 7-seater car with like 3 rows of seats. It's called a Kia Telluride.
Oh, we love
And
the
I used
Telluride.
that. And it's funny because when I arrived, I came at midnight, and then eventually the day after, I told Witness, "Hey, I got the 7-seater car," and he said, "Yo, can you transport my players to the venue with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And it was funny because I put they went out to breakfast the following day after I arrived. The following day after I arrived, and I had to drive Poppy, Tomas, Otto, and Nixie, and they're like, "Yo, why the hell are these American cars so huge? Oh my god, this car has a 3rd row in the back. What the hell?" They're just all marveled by how huge the American cars are, and I'm like, yeah, that's America for you. So yeah, I came in the 23rd, the 22nd, and then Lacey and Resin arrived the following day, and then Antlers arrived the following day with them, but at midnight, right? I think that's the timeline of events. And then everybody else eventually trickled in.
Something like that. I
Yeah.
remember I came late.
My flight
and
was
had to
okay.
leave relatively early.
My flight was okay. I didn't have any issues. I was pretty much excited, and I slept like a baby on the flight, actually.
I'm glad.
I was
Sleeping
tired.
Sleeping on a flight, so lucky.
Either
Just
way,
like one melatonin pill.
I'm sure it felt great too.
My
I'm
flight
jealous
was
of
very
that.
smooth. I remember just being worried about the entire like 50-pound checked bag of stuff that we wandered through Oregon.
Yeah, we had to launder.
Oh.
We had to launder all of our equipment through Lacey because we were penny pinchers, and we thought, hey, since Oregon doesn't have a sales tax, we could just route all of our equipment purchases to Lacey. So that's what we did.
I'm not against that even.
I mean, it worked, right?
It's not illegal.
No, it's not. So,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
I remember eventually we hit a stop though when I was like, okay, we now have enough equipment to fill an entire checked bag, and I don't own another one.
Ah, yes.
Damn, you a
Okay,
broke
so
ass
we'll just
mofo.
We also
crazy.
we're trying to do various things with like merch as well, which I think is one of my regrets, was that we didn't get to
Not
pull
the-
it off properly.
Not the Velcro
Oh.
hats.
The Velcro hat's
Okay.
wrong.
Okay, no, everyone give Thomas like 2 minutes to explain this. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I was working really hard, trying to see if there was a way that we could get stuff going for like LAN merch, right? Because I still didn't think or know that we actually were gonna cut even on our project. And so I was thinking, okay, like what are things that people would actually want to buy? And there's like classic like TV posters, like you can do like team merch if you like make deals with the teams, but we didn't do that really. And so there's a big hullabaloo that I tried to put up because I was really invested in trying to see if we could get like Velcro hats where we could convince people that there were like patches that you could get and you could put them on the hat so you could support different teams with the same hat. And then like each team would make money off of it. With like based on like their merch purchase of like the
Patch itself.
the patch, thank you, not the hat.
Yeah, the hat's ours and the patch is theirs.
And
Yeah.
everybody ignored this motherfucker on the idea.
And I swear to God, this is my biggest sadness in life is that I couldn't convince a single soul to give me a realistic opinion on if they thought it was a good idea or not. I still
said it
don't
was
know.
a good
Please,
idea. I just
In
wasn't.
the
I just
comments,
didn't
tell
care
me if
about
this
it
is a good
enough.
idea or not. Because if it could have been baller and I missed out on a great opportunity, I'm really sad.
Dude, you should have just given people white shirts and then like a bunch of different colored Sharpies and said like, hey, draw your best Froyotech imitation
no.
jersey. Or like
What the-
Witness Gaming jersey. And then like,
Okay,
if Froyotech were to be on stage and lose, they'd be like, we would pan to the crowd and then like the crowd would take the really terribly drawn Froyotech white t-shirt jersey and then like take it off or rip it off and then it would reveal the other team's jersey.
I'm gonna
Like that
I'm
would
gonna
have
say
been way better.
there's a couple reasons why that wouldn't work.
we want to give people real life decal tool. No.
Yeah, real life decal too. That's a great way of talking about it. Real life decal. Yeah, this is just like the worst thing you could possibly do.
Oh no, dicks are shown on stream. Oh no, the world is coming to an end.
It is. This is the worst. I
It's like,
we
Vince
make
Vince
no
will not
money. I
renew their
can't
contract.
I was saying, I
can't
don't know how this is
afford.
gonna feel.
We make no money. I cannot afford to be put in the situation where I don't make the Twitch revenue.
Oh no, that's right. We would have.
We would have been
what if
so
they're like,
screwed.
dude, what if we applied for Twitch partnership and they're like, hey, so like in timestamp XXX on this date, on your stream it seems to show some illicit photo or some 18 plus NSFW photos that I think do not comply with Twitch's safe broadcasting policy.
Well, this is
But
actually
we've seen that they
a
already
fun little
don't care about the safety of their streamers.
This is a fun little talked about part of our show, is the fact that we actually didn't have we didn't have Twitch partnership, and we were still trying to make money off of the LAN, like from streaming, which is really, really hard.
Yeah. And also, I think subs were still $5 at this point.
Yeah.
Well, someone came in and gifted like 20 or 50 tier 3 gifteds during the tournament, which made up the majority of the freaking revenue.
Yeah. Twitch was not a big revenue source. Fourth wall, merch sales were a big help, at least from the creative aspect, like our own homegrown funds.
Yeah, if anything, we
What was
did our
that one
own.
shirt we made?
The
What did it
fucking,
say? Oh, the...
It was the WGA, is the Australian
right.
one.
Yeah.
Midnight is a fuck or
Witness
some
AU
shit.
one. That one was the fun one.
Everybody bought that one. It
Yep.
helped actually with their fundraiser. Funnily enough, one of the things that was a pain point was the fundraising, but it was okay with Witness Gaming Europe because they had the means to self-fund their travels for the LAN. But what was surprising was that like the Witness Gaming Australia fundraiser, it already met its goal within less than 2 weeks, which was the funny part. That was like shit. Like damn, people really want to see a Australian team come to LAN that bad that they put like 90 days on their fundraiser and it filled out in less than 14 days. So
I think people were starved. International LAN finally after COVID.
truth nuke. Now we can get into the controversy of like how everything goes to shit even before the LAN even started, right?
My
Because
bad.
now the stage is set. Now the stage is set. Everybody has arrived to LAN. The only problem is, one, we wanted to do a show match, but things already went wrong from there. Yeah. We were
Yeah, I
in
can
chaos
talk about
before the
that.
LAN even started.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Essentially, we were told that there were going to be 2 capture cards at the local host venue that we would be able to use, and there were, no problems there. Well, one of the capture cards was a camlink. There's air quotes around that. It looked like a camlink. It was a knockoff. The other thing was a real Elgato. A real Elgato HE60 whatnot. Unfortunately, the cabling was missing, and that cable was USB 3 or 3.1 or something, and was significantly important to it. And there wasn't another one in the venue. And the show match was to go on, so instead of having the 2 PC setup that the actual LAN ended up having, we just did a normal production of one PC, and had to move everything over there quickly.
Right, we had
too.
cameras set up too.
This is not to mention that the PC for production did not exist until the next day. So, of course, localhost only has pre-built PCs that are, to their specification, They have their templates. And to have the power we needed in one PC, they didn't have it, especially because we have a special PCIe card that would not fit in their small little cases, or did not have a motherboard that had enough PCIe lanes. So we had to jerry-rig things from their own inventory.
I think this was the
What-
big. Okay, so this is actually the biggest regret that I had is Connie. Sorry, used the wrong alias. Had proposed. So at the time I was in Korea because I was on vacation prior to the LAN. Connie had proposed shipping her own PC, and at the time this was like before I realized I could just grab money out of thin air. I was like, I don't know if we could have money because we still need money at the LAN in case of an emergency. And it
We
would
did
have
have
only been like
emergencies, by the way.
$100.
That was good.
What?
We did have enough emergencies where that was actually like a legitimate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should have used the emergency money for that, but the proposition from Connie was bring a PC that had that she knew would have worked at the LAN and wouldn't have resulted in everything that happened with the production from an online perspective. And
But
I
we
said,
still had the other
I don't know,
part, too.
I don't know if we're gonna have money. I didn't know if we were gonna have money. And fuck, like it would have only cost us an extra $100 if we just shipped the PC. and we didn't do that because
Yeah.
we were worried about money. And I guess it's our fault because I talked to Faster about it, and he's like, most people running their own tournaments here bring their own PC for production. I'm like, shit, I should have, if we had consulted with Essentials regarding that, or like if we had fucking if we had some experience, we would have known that prior, but we didn't.
Yeah,
The
I
only
should have
person
pushed
with
them for
a-
that more. I knew coming into this that was a great idea, but I did not understand how restrictive that the PCs at the venue would have been. I thought the hardware sounded okay, but I didn't realize that there were other restrictions in place. I should have been more inquisitive. And that's by far my biggest regret, probably. I think it's Console's biggest regret as well.
Yeah,
It's
Connie
just not
pushed for
shipping
like,
a PC.
but she didn't have money at the time, which is why she asked us, and I was like, I don't know if we'll have money, because at the time we were already running dangerously low on funds. Like that was before I did all the fundraising at the prior to the event, or like days before the event. Had
we
we
just say
known
that-
yeah, we just
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah. Not having that money right there in front of you really makes you think like, well, we have to be a little more skint, and it made certain decisions, and that happened to be the decision that had to be made then when we didn't have, and it was the worst one.
You know what we should have done? We should have convinced somebody to take out like a 0% APR introductory credit card and
Well, I mean,
just pay for
a
Connie.
lot of like the final stuff in Colorado was done just with my regular credit card.
which
like,
you
that
then
was-
compensated for yourself.
Yeah,
with,
of
so-
course, but like,
But it was
definitely
like-
it did
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I mean, it also happened that Josh, we received money, like a large donation, in the venue. Like not like physically in the venue, but like while I was in the venue, I heard that we got more money just by like sitting at production.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember what happened. Like we were running low on money, and I was like, shit. So I just started messaging everybody, and it's like, oh, we got money. So it's like, that helped us out for
Yeah.
the most part. But it would have been good if I had like if I wasn't on vacation, I probably would have had more time to think about it. But if I had thought like, oh, like the PC is the most essential part of like a production, like I should have done that prior. So that's like my biggest regret. I think everyone's regret from a production perspective was the underpowered and jerry-rigged production setup. So
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being because at this point, originally, Josh, you were point of contact mostly interfacing with sticks, right? But then when it changed over to faster, for whatever reason, I ended up mostly interfacing with them. And I remember asking Resin, I asked you, and I was trying to I got from you in console like what we needed in the production PC, right? And I remember like you said, all I got back was specs. We got back like the GPU, RAM, processor, etc. But I never inquired about like motherboard or PCIe slots or anything like that. And that's how we ended up in that situation. Because I remember we actually, Resin and Connie basically were like, well, it seems good, and we were all like, okay, well, if these specs work, then these specs work, and we just didn't dig deep enough. But then Josh, I do remember what happened with that surprise donation, because it was on the 23rd. It was on Friday, and we had about $250 worth of unexpected expenses that we suddenly needed. It
yeah,
was
that's the XOR.
we had the XLRs, we had just literal earbuds that fucking Rooster went and got. There was, what else was it? There's other cable rentals. There's another microphone, I think, that we had to get, like an SM58 on the last like day before LAN. And I remember watching you. You sat at one of the desks, and suddenly you called us all over, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I just got us another like $1,000 or whatever it was."
I know that was the most stressful like hour of my life. My God, like just
Yeah,
thinking
to-
about that.
To be clear, when I say Josh money, that like those are that's how I associate with you. Like you just make money sometimes. Here, you're just so good at advertising yourself and us.
Yeah, like I said, it just comes down like if you interact with the community more, like you're bound to make connections that can help you out when you have that time of need. And I think that
Mhm.
you know, the boomerang came back around when we needed it, just in the nick of time.
Yeah, because Guitar Center was not all that helpful.
Oh, should we talk about our frantic calling on the 23rd?
Should we talk about the Guitar Center being problematic twice?
Yes. Who wants to start that? Because I don't remember what the fuck happened. I remember I drove around with Anglers. We were driving 30+ minutes, like just to go check out Guitar Center rentals, and we were like, I remember I walked in, and the guy's like, "Yo, we don't have these." Yeah, go on. Let's start the topic.
Well, the problem is that's not even how it starts because. Oh, that's sort of how it starts, yeah. Because that was the first. That was the first Guitar Center, right?
No, so Connie got a so Connie prior to the event got a quote or some shit, like
Right.
got a verbal promise, something like that along the lines. No,
Right.
Yeah. And
because we didn't know. Did we know the stage layout and like how? No, we had the stage layout and we knew the specifications of the XLR cables and the lengths
Yeah,
needed. to
Connie
run the
knew
production.
everything that needed to be bought. Connie knew what needed to be bought, and we also knew because we had the final total from her in money. But either they didn't physically have the cabling, or they just simply didn't actually do rentals as was, I would say, promised. That might be a little much for me, but whatever it was, they did not have what we expected them to have for us. So we found another location, another Guitar Center that was around. Anyone remember where that was? Somewhere.
It was the one
I
in
think it was all the way in
Aurora.
Boulder.
Oh
that's
yeah,
in
it was. Oh yeah, all the way. It was all the way in Boulder.
That was the video
And-
rental. That was not Guitar Center, for reference.
Oh, that was Pro Photo Rental. Yeah,
Yeah, that
we
was
shot
Pro
up
Photo rental that we had to do because the Guitar Center only came in when I had to drive another 30 minutes next to Boulder, specifically so that I could like talk to their manager about getting more XLR cables and the microphone that we needed for the stage. So
Right,
we're
because
talking about
Right.
Pro
that's-
Photo Rental and the other place that was not Pro Photo Rental that I never went to.
So at that time when we were doing the XLR cables, I think Anglers had just gotten back from the airport with his car rental, and I had been driving. I think up. I was about to drive like my 7th or 6th hour, like constantly on the car, because I was driving to Denver airport, and I was like shuttling people who couldn't because you know like getting a taxi from the airport and getting to the venue was like $70 one way. So I was like I was trying to save people money. So then, you know, Connie said, "Oh shit, you know, you guys need to go to these Guitar Center or these XLR cable locations and try to get XLR cables." And me and Angler showed up at 2 separate Guitar Center locations, and they just said they didn't have them.
I have a little bit of this written down because it was just so strange to me. Thomas, I believe you called or Connie called ahead for the rentals. You went there, but rentals just were not a thing they did there. So you ended up just paying a cheaper price for the promise that you would return them later.
Yeah, that's true. So
Yeah,
that was
Angler, just say the whole story.
Yeah, so the problem was that we needed to rent a bunch of stuff. Like, specifically, we needed a mic stand. We needed, like, I think 200 feet of XLR in 50-foot lengths. So, like, no, it was more than that. It was, like, 8 cables of 50 each. And we
Right.
needed a microphone for the stage. Because we needed to hook everything up so that we could actually have, like, our projector ready, which is a whole separate problem that we had.
Oh, we didn't get there yet.
But, you know, none of this cabling existed in the venue, so we all were trying to figure it out. I show up to, like, a Guitar Center 20 minutes out. I call them ahead of time. I say, hey, I need to rent these cables. And like, okay, we have these cables in inventory. I said, baller, that's good enough for me. So I went and I tried to work with these people about finding these cables. I show up, like, I'm not really like a tech, like a guitar tech guy. So I didn't really know what I was doing going in there. I just like showed up and started talking to the people who ran the store. And eventually one guy said, "Oh yeah, let's just like, it sounds like you need a lot of help here, man. Let me take you to my manager. His name is Sean."
Yeah, I have that written down.
Sean.
And Sean I think single-handedly saved us a lot of money by giving me like ridiculous discounts on the promise that I would return things. Because the other option was like, we get them for free, and we just like don't pay Guitar Center because we just like rented them out for just long enough that we could use them, and then get them back full price. And I was kind of up in front, like I was like, you know what, like we could do it like a really shitty way.
No, they didn't even have the XR cables.
They
like,
did, they absolutely did.
They did? Oh.
Yeah.
No, because
it's
Josh,
sound
remember,
equipment
there was
in a
two
sound
different.
equipment store. Like it's
Okay.
the problem was that they didn't do rentals at all. And that was when I said, okay, there's gotta be a middle ground here. Like, maybe we can work something out. Because I really need these cables, and I really don't want to screw you guys over completely. And I don't know, he recognized that, because I think a lot of people, like, do shows and just, like, rent stuff just to return them a little bit later. And so we came up with this idea of, like, hey, like, I'm just gonna borrow these, and I'm gonna just pay half of what they cost. Just like, because you have my money and my credit card information. Like, it just is gonna be that way. And he believed me, and I believed in him. So we just sent it, and it works really, really well. And I think Sean saved us a lot of money, a lot of time. Bless up, Sean. This is what I'm gonna say to that.
We got fucked up. We got fucked with the show match though, because we had grand plans, and that combined
yeah.
with the PC issues. And I think people were very angry about that. But I mean, like, the thing is that at least the show match was a way for us to find out these issues early and try to mitigate them as much as possible.
Yeah, if we didn't have a show match, yeah, there's a lot riding on that. I mean, honestly, you have to also remember that the show match was cast by Eki and Wild Rumpus? I don't know. But again, they had not arrived yet to the event. They had not arrived yet in the state. Those were remote casters. Imagine if those were physical casters we had. We didn't have
Would've been
microphones
fucked.
yet. So then,
We did
yeah,
have
I
mics
mean,
for them.
did we?
We
Yeah,
didn't have it
just
set
the-
up though.
I don't. Well, so I think ultimately one of the big things with the show match that really we shot ourselves in the foot with was that we changed our mind at I think 11 a.m. the day of the show match about it being a remote or on-site production. 'Cause I think originally we were going to have JMax produce it remotely, and then the four of us decided at like 7 hours.
Yeah.
before the show
You were right. Fuck.
we should produce this on site. Why not? We were told because we were expecting to only be able to set up on Friday, and Sarah was like, "Yeah, no, you can set up on Thursday. That's fine. Just don't bother like our paying customers." And we're like, "Yeah, of course." And so at like 11 o'clock, 11:30, that decision is made, and then the show match was going to take place. I think like five Mountain Time. So we had like 6 hours. And Connie wasn't there yet. Connie had a lot of the equipment. Connie's flight got in at noon on Friday. This was Thursday. And beyond that, we also didn't have Connie's like knowledge, because Resin, Resin, like you said earlier, you haven't led an event before, so there was a lot you didn't know how.
Well,
to
I
set
have, but
up.
I just this is different. This
Well,
is far
whatever.
different.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah,
But-
I know.
We basically were like, all right, well, let's just do the best we can. 'Cause we had already told J-Max went to sleep because he was like, okay, cool, I'm not producing. So we were locked into having Resin produce on site. Josh, you were originally going to observe before we realized that we couldn't do an
Correct.
observer. And honestly, I think that's the main thing that went wrong with the show match, to be honest, is we changed our mind too late.
It wasn't even like a thing to ego JMax. We just like, we need some rep. I think when I first told him that, I was like, we need to get ourselves some reps
Mhm.
before the LAN. So it wasn't even like trying to ego him or anything like that. It's just like we needed some practice because if things go awry, at least, well, hey, we've tried this during the show match. We know what to do instead. So yeah, we fucked up, and I think one thing that people don't take into perspective is that like we didn't even plan for this to even be an intercontinental LAN. Like we're doing all this shit on the fly. Like oh, somehow it ended up in our pockets being an intercontinental LAN. Of course, even then, we still should have done our best, but we were just largely inexperienced and we fucked up because of that. So
That's
yeah,
that's entirely accurate for myself.
I mean, we fucked up, but what I can confidently say is that we tried the best that we could, and if we were to host another LAN, we wouldn't make these same mistakes again.
Well, no, I would never make these same mistakes. These are the things that I would these are the only things I would focus on, probably.
Just really
And then fuck
nail
up elsewhere.
down. That way we can make new mistakes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Rinse, wash, rinse, repeat, right, Thomas?
That's what we're here for.
And at this point, actually, like I think working relationships kind of crumbled because I remember I was talking with Antlers and I was talking with Lacey. Resin was gone for the most part because he was just locked in on the HUD and stressed out from overall like all the other responsibilities that he had. But we were kind of discussing like, oh, Connie is crashing out. Oh, other people are starting to crash out. We were starting to crash out ourselves. I was more so worried about money at that point, so I was crashing out over that. But like, I think there was a clear breaking point at the tournament that somehow, despite everything, everybody was able to get through the tournament, but there was some clear tension during the entire event between everybody. I don't know if I'm the only one that felt that way, but it was kind of clear to me.
I
Oh,
felt
definitely.
it, and I came in as like an observer and also like a coordinator on top of like just being the money guy. So when I wasn't observing, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to like lessen people's loads a little bit and like seeing if I could coordinate in the moment. That ended up being primarily what I just like went around doing for a lot of it. To some people's dismay. So I think I helped more than I hurt doing that though, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I spent a lot of my time in the production area, and if I wasn't producing, I was probably in the production area or just on my laptop. Like I said, I was programming the HUD in the venue while production and tournament matches were going on. You know, if you want to look at one of the matches, you might see the sponsored things change very often. Hi. It was difficult. There was many things that were going wrong simultaneously. Some of them within my control, some of them out of my control, and I think that's true for a lot of other people. That some of them felt in control, some of it felt out of control.
And I think it's worth saying too. Like we mentioned Dubthink. If not for Dubthink, we probably wouldn't have gotten our Fizzgun sponsorship money. Because it was Dubthink. But Thomas, it was your idea with the colors. I remember frantically messaging my Fizzgun contact asking permission. Cause we didn't have all of our sponsorship obligations fulfilled actually. When
Oh, yeah,
LAN
that's right.
started. We promised them in-game billboards, and this was something that, frankly, myself and Resin both should have researched a bit heavier in the build-up to the event and like gotten prepped then. But it was not as easy of an asset replacement as we thought it was going to be. And I remember Dubthink sitting on stage because she was one of the only people in the venue who actually knew how to do it. And there's an emergency ping from Essentials before we figured out Dubthink could do it, to all of Essentials observers, if anyone could figure it out, because we were sitting down looking at minus $1,000, because if Fizzgun's obligations weren't fulfilled, we had no guarantee of money.
That falls on me. That falls squarely on me. I simply did not have the time, nor did I start soon enough on those obligations to have those done and correct and ready. There wasn't even a preview of them created. And I couldn't stay on stage longer creating that as things went wrong in production. So,
Yeah, there was a
Dubthink
lot
took
going
over
on
my PC,
everywhere.
physically using my keyboard on stage, my mouse on stage. My stuff was still in front of her. She just took over.
I didn't actually know. I didn't know it was to that extent. Damn.
Yeah,
So-
I was sitting down doing it, and then eventually she took over.
Yeah, the only thing that I know that I had regarding that was that I made an idea to use Casting Essentials auto cameras to create static cameras of the rollout to show the freaking what was it?
Show
The
the billboard.
logos during the
Yeah.
grand final during rollout. So I was like, shit, we got to make the sponsor money worth it to them. Because that's what I did when I heard about the situation, but I didn't hear about the situation to that in that detail. I was just thinking, like, damn, we didn't even have the chance to show the sponsor graphic all tournament, but since it's the grand final, what's the best way we can get the most exposure for it? And it was just, oh, let's just show it during the rollouts at the start of each map and shit. So
Sometimes it's about that. Sometimes it's about thinking what you can do, not just what you've done already, or like just create something new. Like we had to try something to make it worth their while, especially.
And we did. Fizzgun was happy, and that's
somehow-
that's the
we somehow
important
made
thing
it
to come
work.
out of this. Fizzgun was very pleased with how the event went for them.
I think since we're already talking about things that went wrong with the tournament, one thing that we did terribly was, so Lazy had created the caster schedule, but we stuck to it too strictly. And there were things, and because of that, Eki actually had gone out of commission for day 2 because we overworked Eki with the caster schedule. And because we chose to stick to it strictly, because I actually agreed with Lacey on this, so it's not all of her blame to take. We could have, for that Froyo versus Ball's team upper bracket quarterfinal match, I think we should have. I had touted the idea of, because Sandblast and Marmalade were supposed to cast one of the matches on the first day that we did not have go on, and instead we had it on the essential stream due to the production issues that caused the show match to be shit. Because if we had Marmu and Sandblast cast that match, I think Eki would have been fine for day 2, but unfortunately because of that, we should have been more flexible with the casting schedule or the
Definitely.
broadcast schedule.
I remember we talked about that like as we were leaving the venue late on Saturday. And that was something we were like, we should have bumped Sandblast and Marmelu and let them cast the upper quarter.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they got to cast one BO1 on day 1. They should have had way more opportunities to cast on day 1. They only got that one
100%.
match. And Eki had to do 3, and then Eki was like, oh shit. Or Plinko's like, oh shit, Eki can't do it, because they were sharing the hotel room together. Like, Eki is out, Plinko told us, and then it's like, shit, what do we do for day 2? So
Yeah.
we figured
We
it
try to
out,
give
but yeah.
we try to give Sandblast more opportunities. We put Sandblast on the stage, and we fucked it up too for him. I really apologize about that.
Wasn't
we
his-
didn't coordinate.
wasn't the earbud
we didn't coordinate very well. Like stage walk-ons or just communication with each other about how we want to run the stage. Which it just made for not only just like a lesser product, but it also just it was questionable about how we put ourselves out there to our talent.
I definitely think how we ran stage on day 2 and even day 3 as well is probably one of my biggest regrets with the tournament. Because I was trying to coordinate that with Resin and Connie, whoever was on production at the time, and there were definitely just huge communication lapses, and part of that was on TO side, part of that was on production side. It was equal parts. But
We didn't
there were
talk about it in the build up to the LAN either. We just,
no.
I think the contract situation was part of the issue. We were just so worried about the contract and the HUD that when the time came, we let all these issues, we let them sit on the burner for a bit too long, and it eventually got too hot for us to handle.
We let too much, too few things take up too much brain space. And I feel like the communication between the four of us ultimately was just kind of more poor once we got on site, which, obviously part of that can't be helped because all four of us were running around amok. But
We needed more organized protocols, but
mhm,
it was more so the production issue that exacerbated everything else going to shit.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think
well,
I think there wasn't enough. At least what I would want to do is dry runs just testing, just layout, just thought about how it should look for the audience and how it should look for the stream. We really just wanted to put the product out there instead of like figuring out how it should look exactly.
Oh,
We didn't have
that's actually
time.
really good.
Right, because we really got bottlenecked by how much time we had to set up. Because ultimately we only had 9 hours, I think, with our full crew on site.
Well,
That's about right.
it wasn't. We didn't even when we had our full crew on site. We weren't even really fully on site because everybody. We had some people that were just so busy fixing issues that were prior to everybody arriving that they couldn't be available for those.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's one of the things that I. It sucks when you have like a very important land for the history of T2, and then when people go back to watch the VODs, they see what I would consider a mediocre product. But in that time, it wasn't mediocre. It was the best that we could do given the circumstances. So I won't. While I do have regrets, I don't harp on it too much because if you witnessed it firsthand, you would have seen how much turmoil the production was, or like the whole behind the scenes was for the event.
Yeah, I don't harp on it anymore. It's not worthwhile. I believe we put a product out there. Was it a mediocre product? I would call 720p mediocre. But that's okay. If you were there, you felt the energy, and if you weren't there, you knew what was happening. Once you got it out of your system that there were problems, there were parts you could enjoy. I believe that.
I want to circle back to that upper quarterfinal though, Josh. Because do you remember the conversations we were having during that when it hit about 10:45 p.m.?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, the
no.
venue closing.
Do we?
Yeah. So day 2 actually went really smoothly. Let's remember this and thank God for that. But definitely, I made some mistakes with how I planned the group stage.
Oh, is
And-
this about the open bracket or is this about just the
No, this is about invite. Open bracket ran perfectly fine.
No, remember you did that situation for playoffs where they had to do the BO1 for the opening bracket.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But that's
But they all agreed on it. So
that was different. Yeah, definitely they all agreed, and definitely I think most of them just wanted to get out of the venue at that point. So thank you, open teams, for all of that. But no, the invite, we ran veto system throughout the entire tournament. So including the group stage, there was a veto process, even for the BO1s. And what that meant is that there was plenty of ability for the players to muck about and not start as on time.
correct. Yes, I know
And
this discussion now.
that's definitely gonna be something that we change at any future fireside events. But I think the upper quarter was originally slated to start at like 8 p.m. I want to say,
Yes.
and I think we started actually more around like 8:40, 8:30, 8:40, and that would be
Wasn't
fine.
it because FIRESIDECAST was discussing their vetoes?
That was part of it. That was part of it. Definitely having to stay on Froyo was a big, like, scheduling thing this LAN. Um, but yeah, I think we started at like 8:40, and the other quarterfinals actually ended like pretty quick. I know finished ETF finished their stream pretty much on time, and once it hit about 9:45, Josh, Faster, I should say, is talking to me like, "Hey, like, what are you thinking? Like, how are you? Like, are we doomed here? Like, how bad is the schedule gonna go over?" And I just had to sit there and tell him like, I think I ran over to production, and Resin, you probably remember this, and I yelled at you, "No couch" for the rest of the night because we just did not have the time. And I think
Yeah.
we did the same thing happened in grand finals, unfortunately. Because Sunday, uh, shout out to Faster and Sarah because they charged us way less than they could have because it hit 5 o'clock on not Sunday, Monday, I should say. And Thomas, I don't remember where you were. I remember, I think Josh, you're the one who I talked to about it. We were
Yeah, I was the one
basically
on. I was observing the grand final.
and I was on stage for that because I was on stage starting on day 3, and Dr. Happiness and I kept like doing time checks. Once it hit, we went between maps, and I ran off stage, sprinted over to the front desk, and was like, "Hey, so how much are you charging us?" And I think we were told that we were going to be charged like $90 an hour, like $110 an hour for every hour
Mhm.
that we went over 6 p.m. And of course, it went to 4
Yes.
maps. It was a great grand final, great grand final. Um, but I don't actually even remember how we ended up so far behind schedule that for that match.
It was between. It was because process. Remember, it went to like 90 minutes or some shit.
Did it? I can't remember.
It went to infinite overtime and it took forever. And then Gully Watch also went to infinite overtime.
Yeah, I remember. I physically remember on my phone watching with Eki because we were gonna coach Eki if it came down to it to be sideshow.
I had Eki memorize the Sideshow DreamHack Summer 2016 monologue
Yeah,
because I really thought we were gonna get DreamHacked.
I fully believe that as well. That was a belief in me that was a little too real.
Well, no, because we had discussed about the venue time, like in the
Before that
contract.
though, before
Yeah.
that though, we weren't sure because yeah, like you said, the thing circling back to that contract, we originally weren't allocated as many hours as we ended up using. We weren't supposed to have. I think we used 32 hours of like player time in venue. And I think originally we only had like 27 in the initial contract that we signed in whatever it was, September
I didn't know
2024.
that. Fuck.
Yeah, November-ish, yeah,
You,
around
you
there.
definitely knew this, Josh.
I,
Maybe.
I I thought no, I didn't know the specifics to the Monday portion. I just knew we would have to pay more for Monday. I mean, because that was the holiday for the non-North Americans.
If we went over, yeah, because if we went over going over on Saturday, they were basically like, "This sucks for us," but we yelled at everyone to get out of the player area, right, the PC pit, and Isabel and Jorge started clearing that area already, so they were fine with us like keeping just some like just the players and like some spectators, and like everyone else just bounce as soon as possible. I remember sending some of our casters back to the hotel, and they had to watch it on Twitch. But then, yeah, Monday was different because it was a holiday, so they all needed time and a half pay. And yeah, thank you, Josh. We ended up getting charged 150
Total.
for our over being overtime limit.
I mean, when you brought it up to me, because it was right after the map, I was like, "That's fine. We raised money." So it's like, yeah, it's like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the big thing with it because when I spoke to Sarah, I remember was if we can just take it out of in-person ticket sales, then we're golden, and that's what we did. So
The big thing that saved us
on-
was the because remember they talked to you and they said, "Oh shit, look at all these tickets that were purchased like for day 3." And I was like,
Mhm.
that's why I was just like, okay, whatever, we can pay that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
so-
it's a very graceful thing because they did not have to do that.
Yeah, so looking at this, we ended up with almost 30 in-person ticket sales, which was I don't think any of us were counting on. I was expecting maybe 10.
Yeah, just having people. I mean, okay, of course, and then eventually tag filtered in, which is insane. But having that many people just walk in for that one day it's a little mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is
Wait,
a
how
little bit
many tickets
crazy.
is that?
In like, I don't think because part of the problem with TF2 LANs as well is that there's not like, if during the times where people play, unless it's finals, you actually don't get that many people watching. because
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that if you're watching TF2, it's because you're not playing it, and people would rather play than watch. So we didn't expect a lot of people coming in, and that was really a nice thing that happened.
Yeah.
If you think about it, so if there were 96 players playing in the tournament, then 12 of them were playing in the grand final. So you had 84 plus. What we have here is this breakdown from localhost. There were 77 tickets sold. So at max, there probably may have been like more than 100 people watching that grand final on that day. So
Which we have the video
Yeah.
for. We can. Tons of people
Yeah, we have-
recorded that final moment, which is really cool.
so
You say we had like well over 100 people like spectating the final stage. I remember, what was it? It was Friday afternoon. Uh, Myself and the other TOs started helping Faster rearrange the venue because that was something on his to-do list. And he was like, "Well, how many spectators do you think you'll have?" I'm like, "Well, everyone except for 12 players is going to watch at least."
Yeah.
And that honestly, that took away from our setup time. And in hindsight, I really should have told him, "Hey, no, use NSG staff. We need to help with production setup." But
Yeah. As thankful as I am for local host, less of Nerd Street, because Nerd Street legal was, slow. I don't think anyone's gonna harp about that flack. As helpful as they were, I think we needed more security about that, about the things they had on hand. Some of it was our own fault for not inquiring further, but I think some of it was avoidable. The 3 of the cameras we had, 2 of them were missing power adapters, and Jorge had to make a run to the store himself to pay and buy new power adapters.
they also had a shitty project. We were talking about the
We
projector
never
earlier. The
we didn't
projector
talk about
was
the
shit.
projector.
That
So
was
the projector.
Yeah, someone start that dialogue now. I don't know how to start it.
Projector.
I'll
Go
start
ahead.
it, sure. I actually wasn't the first one because I showed up after the show match happened. But I remember just reading the Discord on the airport where you don't want to interrupt people when working on stuff like that. And I would just read more messages like, "This is so fucked. This is so fucked. What are we gonna do? We're so screwed." And I get there, and it's kind of true. The projector that they had at the local host that we got told was this is what you will use to display to everybody what is going on. It didn't really meet that purpose either, because it was so dim that during daylight hours you couldn't actually see what was on it.
Not even when they dimmed when they removed all light sources in the venue, it was still
yeah, they
shit.
took the house lights down, and it was still not visible.
Yeah, and remember at certain times of the day there was a small gap in the backing windows that would let light in, and it would occasionally in certain times of the day cast on the screen.
Yeah, so our final solution to that was actually to get Looser to wire up some more TVs from the main projector feed. And he just started following cables on the floor in order to get an idea of where they ran to so he could get into them. And eventually he got the TVs up, and I think most people watched on the 2 TVs that were on either side of the projector. And for the people
Yes.
who didn't do that, I saw also a lot of people just watching the stream separately from the computers. And that that wasn't the worst either, but I prefer if that wasn't the case.
For me, that hurt my soul. I'll admit it. People watching on their phone, sitting on the couch, hurt my soul a little bit. But I can't say no. I can't
There's
tell.
nothing you
I
can
can't
do.
both tell them. I can't tell them both. Don't do that, and then look at this. Well, frankly, this piece of shit. The projector did not function. We sort of knew how it would be. We were told, but
We didn't know how bad it would be is the thing.
you
No, we
cannot
didn't. We had no
tell
idea
in pictures.
the severity of it.
There, we Anglers had suggested getting Entropy, who's a TF2 demo, who's a demo man that played comp TF2 before, to go check out the venue. We probably should have taken him up on that offer, but didn't.
Yeah.
So many
There's
things
lots
went
of
wrong at this
shouldas, There's
LAN.
lots of should-haves, lots of things that we could have done better, could have like better prepared for, but ultimately we worked with what we got, and
Yeah, it just
ultimately
ended up
all
that
the
way.
players said that it was a good experience, and that's what I'm walking away with.
I believe we put on a great show because people still wanted to be there. If we sold 30 in-person tickets and people still said they enjoyed it, I'm happy.
Ultimately, the paying customers are what matters the most. Like I would say. So
Mhm.
just sucks that when people think about your LAN, it's like, oh yeah, this is the most competitive one. But when they go back to watch it, it's like, oh my goodness, this is 720p. But it is how it is, given
There are
how
demos, do
everything
not worry.
went wrong. Never mind that. We should talk about the other things related to the event, I guess. Day one, we had to pass off to essentials for like the first 2 games.
First
Then
two
after that,
rounds,
we
at
had our
least.
stream. We had our own stream, and then after that, it was pretty smooth sailing. I remember there was an issue with the fans or some shit being loud, or like, I don't know, the audio setup that was jerry-rigged for people that were watching was so bad that people just opted to watch behind the player POVs, I guess.
I mean, in
But that is
fairness,
quite
that was a
common
really cool way to
regardless.
watch the games.
But that wouldn't matter for the first day because it's not like anything is. That really doesn't matter for the first day because everyone's going to be so
Yeah, we
busy
did.
playing that there's not going to be many spectators who would just want to watch, you know, from the stage. They want to actually watch the players behind their backs themselves.
Yeah,
I think it's okay.
there
Actually
was
have
the
any stage games on day one either.
Yeah. Then day 2, that was this. I don't have anything really to say about day 2. It's more so like we had when we came into this LAN and we did all this footage and the filming and shit, there were things we wanted to put on the stream that didn't ultimately end up being on the stream due to other issues that still took precedence. And that breakdown of communication caused some disagreements, but otherwise day 2 was normal. We had our
it
stage
caused a lot
games.
of work. It caused a lot of work to go unrecognized or unused, and that was pretty bad because if we have the talent, not the talent individuals, the talent there within to get this, capture this from Bethnix or Looster, or not Looster, Plum, excuse me, then we should put it to good use.
Then we had our first stage game, which was Witness Gaming Australia versus Balls LAN team, which was ultimately also a historic match. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say, anything to really say about day 2. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. No.
Day two was the smoothest day, at least from a TO perspective, by a long shot. Because we just had this 3 BO3s and we had decent breaks between them.
Should probably also, even before we talk about day 3, which is the grand final, I think that's probably the most important one. We want to talk about the TOs a little bit. You know, just overall how you felt about the team that you created, Lacey, for this tournament. You know, any praises you want to sing about Dr. Happiness and Plinko.
I have only praises to say for my TO team. I remember because we had Plinko already from the Fireside Cup, right? In spring 2024, we ran our online tournament, and I needed an admin, so I brought Plinko in. And then as soon as we decided we were going to do a LAN, I think I messaged Charlie or Dr. Happiness maybe a week later, and he was my grab for the event. And eventually, of course, we got him, and the two of them really did most of the actual like traditional tournament adminning on site. Because I was largely coordinating with Resident Console for the stream, dealing with stage stuff and all of that jazz. This event would not have been anywhere close to as smooth without A, them, and B, I want to give a shout out to Supra. Because Supra hooked us up with having a local serve me at LAN, which was something Resident had tried before, But then we got Super's help, so we could get it kinks ironed out. And I know Dr. Happiness and Plinko both told me like after the event, having local serve me made this a billion times easier from a TO perspective.
Yeah,
Really?
I really appreciate Super's work there. Let's see, interpersonal comments. Ruby is a bad language. Okay, continue, everyone.
No comment
But
on that.
yeah,
I don't code in Ruby.
Supra hooked us up with that, and just the ability, and this is what Happiness and Blanco were telling me, the ability for them to just do all of the server changes and everything. 'Cause we didn't give the players Archon information, which was certainly a choice. It was a choice I made knowing that we would have the local serve me, so we wouldn't have to join any servers or anything. We just went into each Archon on serve me. If anyone's familiar with the serve me admin interface, it's super intuitive and it's really nice to use, and that just allowed level change, especially day one. Day one, when we were changing level like 7 times for group stage, we had 8 rounds of groups, made it exquisite. If we did this again, it would be the same admin team 10 times out of 10.
There was
Do we
just.
want to continue the praises along somewhere? Go on. Finish first.
Oh no, don't worry. What were you gonna say?
No, say it. Say
I'm
it.
not-
I was just.
I don't have much
was
to add to
gonna
that.
continue.
I was just gonna agree. I was just gonna agree with it. Really, there's nothing really I would want different from the tournament organizers, because I just really enjoyed being able to talk to Plinko and Charlie and Lacey about just how the tournament was going, and that their issues were really easy because Serve Me just worked.
Okay, we can go. Anglers, do you have any comments with day 1 and day 2? Since you were gone for that moment, like, did you
There
notice
were a
anything?
lot of people that were
for day
really
1 and day 2?
stressed on day 1 and day 2, and I think I said like a couple times again. My job really just was play the game where I try and help as many people as I can, and I hope it works. But day 1 and day 2, other than observing and like trying to help people where I could, I didn't really have a lot going on. So I would go around. I spent a lot of time interviewing people and just like saying, okay, what can we do to like help the people who are a bit overloaded with their various jobs and tasks and responsibilities and whatnot. And at the end of it, I think it worked out really well. I think I managed to have a good time with it, even if not many other people did. And I don't know, that's all I really had going on there. I know that there's a lot of problems that we had too, but it is what it is. Like I think we killed it.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I think. Go on first.
Yeah, just because there's problems doesn't mean you can just, snap your fingers, they solve it, Whether it be you personally or assign, like, just put more people towards it, which there are not more people to put towards everything. There's no extra people. You can't just, yeah. I think it worked out well, and I believe I would do it again, because we know better. And we'll find new issues anyway, so.
If you think about it, we actually, in the sense, day 1, I guess you could say for the majority, like, we actually, despite our lapse in communications, like, Anglers is essentially a project manager keeping everybody in check, which I think what I've realized this from having my job right now, where I work in a small team of people, but having somebody who may not be as tech savvy in terms of a specialized skill set, but can get people, to work in conjunction with each other despite clashing personalities makes a huge difference. And I think Antlers' skills kind of showed that. But it also helped to have like a strong observer too, because we had Connie, me, Looster, and Antlers on observing, but then eventually Connie had to lean more towards producing, and Looster had to lean more towards backstage. So towards, the latter end of the tournament, it was me and Antlers doing most of the observing load. So having a jack of all trades that could fit in most places where you might not think it's needed, but actually you need a person to help fill that hole was something that I think people don't realize how important Antlers was to the LAN in that regard. No.
I appreciate that, Jay. I do. I think we are hitting like a 2-hour time mark here at this point.
Well,
I don't know how much longer we have left.
We have a 3 hour. We have 3 hours, so we're good.
We
We're
have-
good. We have 40
okay.
more minutes.
All good. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page with that. So with that, I think we can move on to our next topics, right?
Yeah, is it time that like, hey, lands calm down? Lands just like, you know, a thing in the past. It just happened.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are we there?
Oh,
That
I was
is-
gonna talk more about like the people that we thought were pretty good, like from the production side.
Oh yeah, I
I-
have
I had
a
some
few list
people-
of shoutouts. We can do that now. If you want to do like a list of shoutouts or something.
I mean, Antlers, what were you trying to segue the topic into?
I was gonna say, maybe we should consider breaking into if we were to do it again, what would we change? Obviously, we kind of did cover that a little bit. And
in detail, maybe.
advice for people in the future who may or may not actually be us.
Yeah, we should do that first. Actually, let's do this first.
Because,
we could
I
start
mean,
with resin.
I think we've all discussed it before, and the idea of running another LAN sounds really cool right until you realize how much work it is, right? And don't let us fool you into thinking that this was a small feat, in case you weren't listening to anything else that we've been saying so far.
If you're hearing this, you know how hard it was. Unless you clicked
Exactly.
here randomly.
I guess I could go first. Actually, I'll take it first. I think the first thing
Sure.
was we should have done baby steps. We should have done one domestic LAN and then do an intercontinental LAN. I think the thing that made us push towards such a grand idea was there's obviously a time limit on how long WGEU and WGAU were gonna last, and Jesus had already thought of quitting around that time, so a lot of things accelerated past our expectations. But if we had all the time in the world, I would have said start small, and then we can grow big after that.
Do you have like any advice for people trying to do something on their own? Or no, not really.
It's
Probably do
hard.
what we did and talk to somebody that's experienced in it, aka for our case it was essentials.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Have them guide your hand along the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Have someone in contact that, like, you trust. That, you know, they don't have to be the smartest people ever. Maybe they've done it before. Hopefully they've done it before. But just have a quorum with people that know your medium, know what you're trying to achieve. If I were gonna change something, just more information, more knowledge, more questions, ask more things, get more answers. You know, there were unanswered questions that I needed to know, but I didn't know I needed that because I didn't think to ask it, or I knew I needed an answer, and I took the simple cheat, which was assume. Didn't work out too well for some of those. It's okay.
I think from my perspective, which is of course mostly tournament focused, it really comes down to how I schedule it out and getting processes in place much earlier as to exactly how I want to see the tournament and things of that nature. I don't know, Josh, if you remember when pre-registration closed, and we kind of had the, all right, cool. What's our next move here going to be? Obviously, it worked out because we had pretty much the exact number of signups we needed. But had that not happened, we would have been in a bit of predicament because I just didn't plan far enough ahead with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a big ticket of this LAN, which is we didn't plan far enough ahead, or we didn't start something soon enough.
No, we had an idea, but we didn't fully outline the idea. I think that's more so the
Spot on. And I think as well, I feel like the four of us, and if we did this again, I would want the four of us to meet like ahead of the LAN, whether it was once we were already boots on the ground, like on the Tuesday or something, or in the build up to the event, and just talk about once we get boots on the ground, how is it going to work out? How are things going? Like, how are decisions going to be made that ultimately, like, ultimate decisions need to be made? How is something like that going to play out? Because I remember talent was a big question of who does talent questions, because I was doing the schedule, but Resin was running the stream, and there was lots of miscommunication about that, especially on day 2, I remember. And I think just if the 4 of us had a better idea going in, all right, once we're boots on the ground, any questions about that we like acquisition, anything like that goes to Josh, because Josh was doing with like Josh was fundraising for us. Any questions do with like production, anything with talent scheduling goes to Resin, because Resin was our executive producer for the event. Something simple like that would just streamlines the process on the ground, so people aren't, oh, Josh is a fireside lead, I can just go to him with this. Nina's a fireside lead, I can just go to her with this, etc., etc.
Yep. Working more as a council, I think that would have been, and just meeting together, talking like, yeah, everything you
kind
said
of
was just so spot on.
That's the downfall of our ideology, where it's like we're free flowing and like anybody can suggest or pitch something in. Is that when you actually do need structure in scenarios like these, that tends to break down, because we don't even have that structure set in place in case we actually do need it. So
Right.
Yeah,
This is
the only
something I actually thought
person,
about.
oh yeah, so the only person ahead of anyone else's was at that point Thomas, because he owned FIRESIDECAST as the treasurer as well. That was the only aheadness anyone had.
we had too many cooks in the kitchen. Let's say that.
Absolutely. I spoke to Charlie about it in the hotel lobby the day after the event, and just kind of how Essentials works it out, and definitely taking some lessons from him with how Essentials, if a decision can be made with all 4 of them, awesome. Otherwise, it falls into the like pseudo departments that they have, which of course we don't have as much really. Um, Resin is very like production department, but I'm very tournament department. But beyond that, it's very, as we've said a million times, flat. We're a flat structure, right? The 4 of us are pseudo equals, right? Thomas above the 3 of us by way of ownership, but
I think the last person we need input from is Antlers.
Yeah,
No?
I'd agree. I think a really good solution to that problem specifically is knowing that everyone else had like a very, very specific job at play, and I didn't. I feel like, if anything, I could have done something more along the lines of just being there to like delegate questions properly. And it sounds weird to say, right? But like being able to say, yeah, this question goes to this guy, but I specifically right now know that they're crunched. Let's try to get it answered via some secondary party, or like I'll work with you specifically to answer that yourself. Like that was totally within my realm, and I did do it like a bit, but probably not. Like I didn't direct that enough.
Your mic getting staticky?
My mic specifically?
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Oh,
Hopefully
maybe it's
not.
just me.
That'd be bad.
No, actually, I probably would. I think I want to change my point now. I think. Wait, what was the original question? Fuck.
Just
I think it
Anyways,
was like
you asked the question.
like
advice
improve.
to those ahead of us.
Yeah. When it comes
Because,
down.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I want to change mine to have an outline and a timeline of events. Have a project goals, or at least like implement like what is it now in the workplace? Like, it's called Scrum methodology, where it's like you kind of have this iterative cycle where you have goals that you want to do in sprints. That's what we probably should have done, like in the build up leading to the LAN. I think we let too much time lapse before it became a issue that ultimately we had to scramble to resolve. So yeah, that would be mine, including starting small, but that would be mine.
One thing I do want to mention, barring some future knowledge that I don't have, because I'm sitting in my chair on November 8th, 2025, Fireside probably won't be hosting another LAN for a while, minimum. Like, don't look to
We're
us again.
broke.
We have no money. We're broke. We don't have nearly as
Trust
many
me, I
people
know.
as we did last time.
Well, there's a 2020. Well, we're good for 2026 because there's that rumored. It's rumored that the LAN in Poland is going to be the next intercontinental LAN. So don't look to us for that LAN.
Yeah, there's rumors of other things. There's rumors of rumors. Don't worry.
Let's not touch on rumors too much.
No, I don't like rumors.
And
love
either way,
rumors.
we kind of we went for broke because originally the structure was, oh, we'll have some money left over because we'll make money from the land. No, we're gonna actually use all the revenue that we would have gone for our land and put it towards the prize pool.
Yeah, we basically cut even. I'm pretty sure we ended up with 0, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
we've already.
we had like
$3
a
in the
couple
account.
$100, and we paid our staff for showing up like $40. And that
Well,
was
here,
it.
here.
34. I remember.
$34 and
Well,
like some odd cents because we like split it perfectly evenly between everybody.
because
it was-
here's the thing that I think is like important is that I don't know if Essentials does it. I don't know if Poland or RGL does it. If you know anything about RGL, I don't then say it. But like, I think the biggest thing that we did good, if we're gonna sing praises, is that we tried to, if people needed financial help getting to land, we got them to land with that financial help. Ultimately, had we not done that, I think we could have. There's a trade off to helping people get to land. I think one of them was that PC, was the shipping of the PC from Connie to land, but we did a good job of getting people to land and not breaking their bank for it. So I'd say we were more generous than most orgs would be if you wanted to work at a land that we hosted and you needed money. Like, we would do what we could to get you there. Like, not everybody. A hotel there with a group block was like $129 a night. And plus, we would drive you. We drove our talent to the event. That's what me and Antlers did. We drove our talent to the event. Like, we not only accommodated either your flight or your hotel, we also drove you to and from the event. So that's one of the things we did good.
And hopefully that you say it's something we did that other orgs haven't done. Hopefully that starts them doing it, right? Let's set a precedent.
Yeah. If there's other, or just not by virtue of them listening, just by virtue of if others are going to implement our suggestions, I think it's a very big important puzzle piece.
And it's more feasible to do that if you're a European-based organization, because remember, they have budget airlines like Ryanair and EasyJet. So flying from UK to, let's say, France is like $69 or $150 round trip. Whereas for the entire weekend to staff like 3 people, it costed like $500 because 129 times 4. Because you have Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. Oh, wait, no. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 4 days total,
Yeah.
at least, though. Yeah.
Right.
So
We helped
it's-
a lot of people get to. We spent about $2,000 on flights to help get our crew to the event.
I mean, just look at the document. We
Yeah,
spent too
that's
much
what I
on
was
it.
looking at.
Yeah.
FiresideCast.tv/finances. Say it again.
The most transparent org in the TF2 scene. I still remember that one comment by Slice Smoker where he's like, "Yeah, RJ, why don't you show your accounting? Fireside does it." I live proudly by that comment. Well, I mean, we should start talking about praises of like certain people that worked at the event. Should we before we and then do some personal anecdotes about being in Denver for the LAN, right? I guess I could start off because we're almost running out on time. I personally think we did a good job in terms of staffing overall for the event, but the big thing that I was pretty happy about was that there was I don't think there was a clear-cut direction on how we wanted to do photos, but one of those people, I think it was Dubthink or Bethnix, had an idea on how to get those team photos done. And remember how like on day 1 when everybody checked in, they got their team photo taken immediately? That was that. deserves praises on its own. Because remember, none of us suggested how we should do it. I don't think any of us four came up with that idea.
No,
It was one of the photographers that
us.
came up with the idea. So it was either Plum, Dubthink, or Bethnix that get the
Yeah,
praise for it.
Plum is at the top of my shoutouts list that I've been waiting to make a mention of. Really appreciate Plum coming around and just being a photographer. You know,
So
actually
for
a
me,
lot of
that's
people
my
that did
shout out.
that.
Anyone else?
Where like people just like helped out because they could, and like they just like if you deal with TF2 long enough, just by like the merits of it being a really janky game, you do have to learn a lot about how it works. And there were a lot of people at the event who obviously have dealt with Team Fortress 2. Bluetooth is the first one that comes to mind for me, where
Bluetooth.
it was like very clearly, if Bluetooth helped or like didn't help out, it would have been harder for everyone involved. So Bluetooth is probably my shout out, because he like didn't even show up to actually like do that. He just did it.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Forgot about Bluetooth. Sorry, bro.
And Bluetooth top production stuff too. Crazy.
Exactly. Like he.
And on that
just all
note,
over the
Ben PL
place.
too.
Ooh, Ben PL. Ben prosthetic leg.
Yeah, our
With,
unofficial. There again with the tariff
No,
situation, we had a lot of people who like wanted to come from EU but like couldn't. Ben was one of them, and so he didn't want to be seen on camera that much because he didn't want people to like look at him and see that he was like staff for the event when he like just kind of showed up to be staff but not really. Just because he
Yeah.
was worried about like the tax situation and whatnot.
Technically, he was volunteering, so.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to a degree, everyone was volunteering. Like, so big shout out to Ben as well. He also helped me with my calc homework because I had a
You
final
can also.
the next day.
Oh, do you? Is that supposed to be a? Is that a subtle flex towards Ben's mathematics, or is this supposed to be a? Is this supposed to present how desperate you were for help, that you consulted a person who flew out of his way to cross the Atlantic to watch TF2, but
It was
ultimately
both.
ended up.
But he happened to be a math major,
Okay.
Oh,
so
that does just work out. Yeah. Okay.
it does kind of work out for me. Like whether or not like it was real. Like I could have just like come up to him and asked. Like he knew the answers to the problems that I had, which was nice.
Mm.
Oh,
I'm
and
not
Ben can
good at
also,
also
calculus.
climb rocks. He can climb a wall.
Yeah, I wish.
also
I'd
when
been
he was
able to
on
do that with him.
stream, he had those remember he had those denim shorts, so people were commenting on his thick thighs and calves or whatever.
Oh yes. Can we talk about, by the way, somehow we've entirely forgotten to shout out Tag. Can I just put it out
How
there?
did that even
no,
happen?
No
We did shout
one
out
knew
Tag,
this was happening.
Didn't we? You shouted out Tag.
I said Tag once, very briefly, but I did not say shout out. I really didn't get into it.
But you
To
didn't
put
say
none
about
of
how
us-
he got.
Yeah, no one here knew that was happening. Not a sing. There is no one
I don't think
in
Tag
TF2
knew it was
that
happening. Tag just showed up. Like,
Tag didn't know. No, I can promise you, no one knew that was happening. Only reason I knew was because Looster said something. I'm like, what? And then like eventually, there's Tag in front of me.
I do
There was
remember
just
Beth
Tag
didn't
in
know
front
who
of
Tag
me.
was.
Yeah.
makes so
Okay.
bad.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't have to put that one out there, but yeah, Beth did not know. But don't worry, it's okay not to know because now you know.
I think it's worth doing a little bit of shouting out that you didn't know. It was really funny.
But how did he end up doing the
I-
fucking interview?
I'm in
though?
the background. I'm in the background recording this, but I want to put in this. I've already said this in episode 2 about the Denver LAN, so I just want to put that out there for you guys.
So how did he even end up doing the interview though? Like,
Because okay,
coaxed him into
so
that?
he was there because I think
he saw it
basically
on the news.
not
He told me he saw it
right?
on the news.
saw it on the news.
Yeah, and he was about to move out. He was moving out, but he said,
Yeah.
"Oh, before I move out, let me check out the land."
Yeah, he made his way to the production table because he's been around production before. He knows how this stuff goes. He knows, But there was interest to interview him. He wanted to do it. We got it all set up and sent him back there with I don't know the interviewers. There's Wild Rumpus, Ben PL. Was there Marmalou?
Yes.
Yeah. And what a wonderful guest. What a wonderful surprise. What a wonderful addition to our event.
Also, shout out because that bought like 30 minutes of time of like on stream.
Yeah.
And
did
that would have been like
something,
otherwise
real.
B-roll.
I would
Yeah, the
say,
Chat reaction was great too.
yeah, they're like, who the fuck is this guy? I've seen this guy before. How did he end up here? It's like totally unplanned for. And then I remember
What?
going around and people are geeking out, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all. And then I'm like, oh shit, you're right, for real.
I'll geek out. The hell? I'll say it.
Lazy's been quiet this whole time and has not sung praises of anybody aside from her own TO team.
I haven't had an opportunity. I was letting y'all give shoutouts. I already gave my big shoutouts. My team was amazing. The biggest one for me though, other than like my wonderful tournament ops, love you, happiness and Plinko, would be Looster. Because Looster became our stage manager and managed the green room, and I do not know what we would have done without him doing that.
Yeah, Lister was so good that he got himself in trouble. That he got us in trouble, didn't he?
Yeah, because we borrowed one of the cable. We were looking for a cable for doing the interview with Witness Gaming Australia, and then we looked on one of the shelves, and then Vassar sent me a fucking message of like, hey, I know you guys, are doing things, but make sure you don't touch anything. And he put this CCTV still of roosters sifting through the shelves. Oh, I have the image.
Yeah.
And,
So if you do want advice, by the way, I'm gonna go back to that for like 20 seconds. Don't do things you should not.
Is this image?
We have.
Make sure to put it on the stream when you do the editing, or make sure to put it in the video. It's Rooster sifting for a cable that we needed. That
Yeah,
ultimately
to be
we
clear-
ended up having.
None of that in front of you we own. So
No, none of it.
Yeah.
None of it we were allowed access to.
no.
Nor had we asked if we had access to it.
Yeah. So not the end of the world, of course. But respect.
What I remember about that is that Faster told me most of that hadn't been inventoried by localhost as well.
Oh,
So they didn't know what was there, and we were just rifling through it.
Well, I mean, if they didn't know there's there, then like, other than the CCTV stuff, like they had no idea that we took it.
fair game. To
Yeah,
me.
Except that we
than
just
the
said it now.
CCTV,
Like, I mean, yeah, we got
minor
caught. Like
little
that's
details.
different, you know.
Yeah. And also, by the way, I'll put it out here. Beth Nix is in the background. Do you remember doing a snow angel on the carpet in the green room?
That definitely
Fuck
was
I
bad.
remember
you.
that.
Fuck you.
Sarah showed me a CCTV video of Beth Nix doing a snow angel on the carpet in the
I
green
was so tired. I was so fucking out of it, and I just laid down on the ground and did a snow angel.
Was
out of,
she
like,
giggling
pure
at it or
boredom.
what?
Oh
She was
yeah, it
having
was
a ball.
hilarious. It
She
was
was having a
awesome.
ball.
She was playing it on her phone and everything. It was awesome.
She was having fun.
It was a really
Okay,
lush
now I go
carpet.
back to
In
stones.
Beth's defense,
Yeah, it
like,
was.
the
It was
carpet
like high. It was like the high.
Yeah, high
Yeah,
tuft.
it was actually nice. I don't
Did I
remember
forget
also-
about
what
the
it.
quality carpet?
Also, by the way, 20 minutes.
did.
By the way.
If
20
you have a
minutes?
dirty
Alright.
mind, I was thinking of the analyst desk as like this casting couch. So
Oh my
that's-
god.
I just had that thought the entire time, and I'm like,
Yeah. Ah,
Oh, Joshua.
Any more praises to sing about anybody?
basically anyone in
Oh!
the venue.
Oh, I have two praises to sing. One, In and Out, and two, Culver's.
Oh,
Culver's, home of the
I'm-
Butterburger.
I'm gonna say it. I had In-N-Out already because I'm from California, right? But Culver's I
Sure.
had only heard about because like I'm otherwise spent a lot of my life growing up in Kansas, and I guess the part of Kansas I'm from doesn't have a Culver's either. But I went to the
Yeah,
Denver
it's a
Culver's.
Midwest thing.
Horrific, really bad.
Hur- It was bad? No, it was
It was
good.
not like Looster was talking so much smack about how good it was, and
You're
I
just
went,
not cultured.
and it was like the food wasn't good.
Wrong.
It
Get
was like
out.
it was so greasy that like you couldn't eat it properly.
I don't know what you mean.
It's a butter burger. Of course, it's supposed to be greasy.
Well, yeah, but it's like it was too greasy. Like there's an acceptable amount of grease, and that place just had too much of it. In and out, obviously, you know, the classic OG #1.
What was the
But-
story, by the way, about was it the Australians who tried to order chips?
Oh, I don't know this one.
The Australian. Oh, because Looster took them to.
Right, Lucy, that's Lucy's story. Oh, I thought
Yeah,
someone here knew the
Yeah,
story.
Oh, you tried to order
Yeah.
fries?
Yeah.
they said chips instead of fries, and then Ben, I had to stop from doing the same thing because me, Ben, and Wooster also went to In-N-Out one another night. Another food shout out though, Raisin Canes. I had never tried Raisin Canes before LAN.
Wow.
yeah.
Actually, really good.
I think
Did I
like
have
Raisin
that?
Cane's
I don't
actually
remember if I had
mid.
that. Oh,
Okay. Compared to like what I have around me, it's good as fuck.
You live in Seattle. I can't believe
I
this.
do not live in Seattle.
Or you
What?
live in Washington. You live in Washington, I think.
No,
No, don't you live where the Trailblazers are or whatever the
I
fuck?
live in Oregon.
Oh, okay, what the... Dude. Fuck.
dude, dude.
Fuck. My bad. I thought bro lived in Seattle this whole time. Oops.
I wish. No. You comped my. Well, actually, Thomas comped my flight.
Another funny thing is I was chilling with Lacey, but we were driving and we were talking, and I used a slang, and she thought I
Can
was
we-
she thought
can we-
I
Let's not put that one on podcast
That one doesn't
Yeah,
sound
yeah.
necessary.
because that outs. Yeah.
I did not say anything. I did not say anything.
I know. I'm just stopping you before you do.
Actually, what
We had Panda
there's one
Express as
thing I
well.
wanted. There's one thing I wanted to say. No, actually, no. I forget now. Never mind. Shit. It'll come to me eventually.
Yeah. We all ended up at Denny's and then the hotel for pictures in the end, though. That's all what I remember.
Oh yeah, there was the. Oh yeah, there's a story there. I think Ben or Doctor Happiness opened like they wanted to check out the pool to the Residence Inn, which is one of the two hotels we were staying in, and they opened it and they saw kids like playing in the water and like immediately escorted themselves out of the situation, and I think everybody was like laughing, but I don't remember exactly what it was that made everybody laugh. I think it was just them like they're like, oh, I'm gonna check out the
Them
pool. It's like, oh, it's
panicking.
just kids.
It was just them panicking after opening the pool door. 'Cause we were all there. It was like all like 18, 20 of us were there to take pictures and then go get food. And they just, while we were faffing about, they were like, "Oh, well, check out the pool." And then there were like a bunch of children in there.
It's like, no, we're not putting ourselves in this situation.
I mean, we're TF2 players, but come on.
Okay, we can't put
Oh,
that in there either.
Take that one. Take that one out. No, we'll keep that one in.
What did everyone get at Denny's? I forgot what I got. Oh, I remember. I got wings. Yeah, I got
I
wings at
remember
Denny's
the-
at like 12 a.m.
Denny's was fucking expensive. What was the post? Oh yeah, the post presser. The Denny's post presser. Everybody was like venting their frustrations, I think, and then having a good time alongside the food. I remember we were
venting our
talking about, like,
frustrations and
regrets.
talking about Poland.
Oh wait, isn't there a shout out we need to say for who helped pay for some of my food?
I don't.
That
That was
remember
Beth.
Is there?
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, Beth Nix
Beth
paid for my
the
food at Beth Nix paid for my food. Thank you, Beth.
I didn't know that.
Any? I think we're getting close to time, right? Any stories that you can think of that we should mention prior? I think the only thing that I can mention was that shit. What is a story? I think no, it's probably not appropriate to put on this podcast. It's not like NSFW. It's just something about weed.
See,
don't have
see
any
now
stories
you
there.
can't say. We can cut it out. Now you can't say that and then not say it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I didn't say specific names, which is good.
but now
I remember,
no.
oh
but
yeah,
then
was that, I
you
remember.
said
Is that? I remember the venues thinking. I remember I walked into the venue and thinking it smelled like weed. That's what it was. That's what it was.
Oh,
But
okay.
I couldn't find out
That's-
the source of it. That's what it was.
That's-
Shout out
that's-
Plinko
it's
for bringing
Denver.
a really nice bottle of rum. No, it wasn't rum. What was
Scotch.
it?
That
No,
was
it was
Scotch.
not Scotch.
the hell was it?
I
Uh,
don't remember now, but it was a
was-
really nice bottle.
It was It was something in a barrel. Something from a barrel.
Oh yeah, shout out to everybody that shared beds in the hotels with each other and didn't make it awkward at all. We crammed everybody into the hotels. I actually had so 6 syllables. He attends some of the lands. He hit me up like last minute and he's like, "Hey, do you have a hotel I can stay in?" And I said, "Yeah," because originally one of the hotels was supposed to be with all the Europeans plus Luster, but obviously only Ben ended up going out of the Europeans. So then I put Dubthink in that room with Ben. I think somebody else stayed in that room with them. No, it was just those two, and then 6 syllables hit me up saying, "Hey, I need a hotel room." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And we had like 2 air beds because we needed one for Connie
Yeah.
or somebody in your hotel room. And
right.
I was like, "Oh, okay, we'll just give him this last bed." And I only charged him $100 for that. So that's my only weird story, or that's my only memorable story from the LAN. Aside from observing the grand final. Those are the only 2 things I distinctly remember about that LAN. Anyone else got stories?
I'm storied out. I've
Yeah.
already told them.
Yeah, like the only thing that was not mentioned was the bathroom thing. So
Oh yeah, somebody took a huge shit. Somebody took a huge shit in the bathroom, and they were both out of commission. I remember, no, dude. I remember I walked into one of the bathrooms, and somebody walked out like, "It smells like
God.
shit." I mean, it's literally a bathroom. You're supposed to shit in there, but
all right.
All right, team. Well, that's
Nothing
it.
else.
I might help end the session here today. So all in all, I think this has been a good almost 3-hour recap of everything that was behind the scenes at the event. And if I had to do it all again, I might not. I don't know.
see each other.
well,
in
maybe you
2027.
wouldn't.
Maybe I wouldn't, because I don't know. It was already stressful. I was getting married like a week later.
Yeah, to be clear, that was happening, by the way.
Well, we didn't expect him to be in a relationship like that soon.
Yeah, that wasn't planned the same way, I think.
He's like, "Yeah, I found a baddie." I'm like, "What? You're getting married already?"
I did not say it like that. I need to be very clear with.
Yeah, eccentric Josh over here.
Me when I spread false information.
What? You never.
I would never do such a thing.
No, of course not.
I mean, gaslighter extraordinaire.
That's why I've been single, huh? Well, that's why Anwar is married and I'm not. Okay. Yeah.
I think
That's
that's the
enough.
show.
Okay.
Okay, GG's.
Well,
yeah.
if that's
Yeah,
everything,
it was fun.
I do want to give a special shout out because this is a joint episode. Primarily, we are the Overtime Podcast, a group led by Bethnix, but not owned necessarily by him on that, where we need to make sure that we shout out the fact that this is going to be on the Fireside YouTube as well as over on the Overtime Podcast YouTube and Spotify. So be on the lookout for that. There's tons of different clips and things that happen almost every week. It's a really good time, and I recommend it to anybody. I've shown up on a couple different episodes now, This is not my first. And yeah, I mean, it's been a great evening with everybody in the room here with me. I'm super
I do have
glad.
one. Wait. I got one more thing to say. You know, recently there's been a university with an esports center that has over 100 PCs. So if you're thinking about hosting a LAN, look at the University of Texas's esports center. They might open it to the public soon, or so I've heard from my university contacts. Maybe we can host a TF2 LAN in Texas finally. 2027.
Nice.
Stay tuned.
All right.
GG's.
So, with that, does anyone have any last shoutouts that they would like to give out? My shoutout usually goes to FIRESIDECAST. So if we don't do that, then I run out of things to shout out. So now I'm shouting out Overtime instead.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I
shout out
like
to
that.
Bethnix for his work on I'd say shout out to Bethnix not only for his work with Overtime Podcast, but just in general with competitive TF2 content. I feel that it's a barren wasteland that only few people are willing to take the plunge in towards, and having Bethnix do some of the competitive TF2 content on the Fireside channel has not only filled a gap or like started to fill a gap in the competitive TF2 scene where a lot of lore is more so hearsay, but to actually document it in some way, shape, or form other than through word of mouth is something that the scene sorely needs, and hopefully we can find more people that are willing to do those kind of that kind of content. So that's my shout out.
I just want to shout out my producer Connie. She did a lovely job. I'm very glad that we brought her on board.
Shout out
Lacey?
to Bethnix as well. Thank you for having us on the Overtime Podcast, and shout out again to my amazing TOs, Dr. Happiness and Blanco.
Wait, we're forgetting one shout out. Can anyone think who I'm guessing right now?
No.
Tag.
No, it's an
Okay.
honorary Fireside member who has long since. Lacey should know this. Come on.
Shout out to Ire.
Yes.
This was her dream. Ever since
Thank
we
you,
did Bring
Ohia.
Back Atlanta back in 2022. We talked about doing an international LAN together for a long time. So I think she'd be really proud with what Fireside has become.
All right. With that, I'd like to thank all of the listeners, either on YouTube or on Spotify. I'd like to thank everyone who's ever helped make Fireside a success before now, and those also who are willing to do it in the future. And finally, I'd like to give an extra special shout out to Resin, who is now helping lead Fireside, which we're all super excited to see that work out. With that, I think I'm ready to sign off, and so I'm gonna say thanks everybody one last time. There's never enough thanks in the world, and I will see everyone later. Is that all right for me to
Peace.
say? All right, see ya.
Yeah.